Yes. Oh, look, we're live on air. Right, okay. Usual thing, good evening, everybody. It's the Phil and Sid show, and Steve, who's with us as well. If you give us just a couple of minutes and we'll make sure everything is working and we're all streaming properly, otherwise we'll spend the next 2 hours talking to ourselves. Right, let me just pop down.
What we do anyway, isn't it?
Well, yeah, there's that to it. Okay, so, right, DPD.
Dun, 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 dun,
yes.
dun.
Oh, look, we're live on it. Right. Usual thing, good evening, everybody. Right, okay, we are good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop that though, because it might eat into my bandwidth. If I know how to. Oh yeah, I do that. Right, and to that. We are live, we are all good to go. Right, okay, fantastic. Yay, we're here again.
Indeed.
Good evening, everybody. Back again for another Tuesday night live show. Tonight we are actually joined by our esteemed team member, Mr. Stephen Sutcliffe, who you can see now. There's our Steve. Say good evening, Steve, to everyone.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone.
So we're going to leave it though.
That's all right. Don't you worry. We're going to get him squirming very, very shortly with all your questions. Usual thing, guys. I know a lot of you have, haven't they, tonight?
Yeah, page 3 already.
Page 3 already. They posted up into the actual forum with all your questions, especially a lot over to Steve as well. So we'll be coming to Steve shortly to ask him what he's been up to this week. But first of all, as you can see, Sid, you've been very, very busy. Do you want to talk us through your train set?
My train set. It's not my train set. It's a Metcalf single viaduct card kit. Basically, I've finished all my trucks up to a point where they're all glossed and varnished, ready for weathering. So I was going to just try and do a diorama for it. And I thought, as soon as I had this one lurking in the bottom of my drawer, I'd use it. So yeah, the last 2.5, 3 days I've been sticking it together, and the only reason I think it's taken that long is purely for that waiting for the glue to dry.
Right.
But as you can see, it's up to the point where I can actually put stuff on it now.
Very good.
It's not a train that's on it. That is my 5 trucks.
That is his 5 trucks on there. Although they're very close, so it does look like a train.
They are. They're all squished up.
That's it.
Be an ideal target, wouldn't they?
That's it. Yeah, good bombing straight and run on that. Soft skin targets. Lovely.
But yeah, definitely a learning curve, something completely different and more fun to do. So yeah, and then it's obviously just working into putting it onto the board and building around it. And,
which you've got there, show me board.
Which I have my board here.
This is going to be his diorama layout, you see.
On here, but you can't see the writing.
I can do it closer so they can-ish.
It's a bit of a glare, but you can see some writing on it.
So yes, that is his scaled out drawing. The thing is, you always find with dioramas, and I'm sure Steve will agree as well, is that it's that thing of they're always going to be bigger than you start out with. You think to yourself, right, I'm going to keep it on that board, and it goes bigger.
Well, this is the first time I'm actually going to try and do a proper diorama rather than just a base. So it should be good fun. Looking forward to it.
Very good. Steve, over to you. What are you working on this week?
I'm working on the Typhoon, the Airfix 1/24 Typhoon. So if I move my camera across, you'll be able to see where I'm up to.
Go on in.
Well,
which is looking absolutely fantastic. Looking really, really nice, that.
Yeah, I've just been doing all the weathering using oil paints for a change.
Yeah, nice to do something different.
Nearly finished, actually. I've got all the missiles ready to go on. And that's about it. That's what I've tended to spend most of my time doing this week.
So we'll be ready for Telford then?
It should be. Probably be finished next 2 days.
Brilliant. Very nice. What's the fors and against for the kits then? What's the best bits? What's the worst?
Worst bit is all the cleaning up of the parts. Absolutely terrible.
Which is typical Airfix, really.
Yeah, all your mould seams. There is some fit issues. Your front end's terrible. Absolutely terrible. And it took a lot of super glue to fill it. And still now I'm having problems. I've got another bit to fit in the radiator area. And apart from that, though, it's a fantastic, beautifully detailed kit. The rest of it's gone together nicely. And as you can see, it looks amazing.
It does, I must admit. Absolutely.
It looks nicely. You know, and it's good because they've thrown quite a lot of options in there as well. So different slight changes in the variant and how you want the radiator, whether you want grills on it, and you get a choice of weapons. So yeah, it's well worth investing in.
Brilliant. Very good. Well, from my point of view, we've got to do this bit first, since we're all here.
Indeed.
We've got the started on the HE111, the big old lump as is. So, and for my sins, I'm going with a big ed set with this one. When they say big ed set, they ain't kidding either. Normally, you don't get photo etch sheets this big. So the thing is, I said about it before, I'm all for photo etch for doing cockpits and stuff like that, because, you know, it's a cheaper kit, shall we say, so it is lacking in the detail. So you need something to really, and also because it's all glass at the front end to liven it up. So I've done that. So if you went for the internal set, which is this one, and the colour photo etch set, wherever it is, which is around here somewhere, we're done with it now, it's probably hidden. But anyway, it's, you know, relatively a cheap way of doing it. I've gone with the big ed set, which what you actually get then is a complete new wheel well base in photo etch, and you get the Bombay for it, which is all very well, but you don't see the Bombay at all, because let's face it, it is just a shoebox, couple of holes in the belly. It doesn't even have particularly nice Bombay doors that hang open and all the rest of it to look in there. So it's one of those things, it's going to take forever to put it together, and you're never going to see it. But a lot of you have asked me about photo etch. My plan is to do the entire photo etch Bombay and everything as a way of showing the site how to use photo etch and all the rest of it. So Steve has given me a couple of tips in the past about doing photo etch, because obviously with him with the armour, which you can all grill him about shortly. So I'm going to be using a lot of that. So like Steve said about using paste to soldering paste. So I might give that a whirl with it as well, because I've used it before. I used it for various bits and pieces, little jobs. Really, really good stuff. Which Steve gave me the heads up on that one.
Okay.
So you can solder it together instead of supergluing it, which is very good. It's got flux built in, and you just run it down. So it's very good. So we're doing that and everything else. The Tonka is almost done. Ding, ding, ding. Ta-da. Ta-da. So it basically just needs putting together now. Got a little bit of weathering go on. Nav light's got to go on. Obviously unmasked, cockpit detail put in, and the rest of it put together. Just doing the thrust reverse the buckets with Alclad. Going to do some heat work on that to make it look like. But I have to say, you know, we're Rebel City now. Really good kit. Possibly my kit of the year.
You keep on saying that, then.
Yeah, I know, because it's good and it's cheap. And also it's that money thing, isn't it? 17 quid? It's a bargain.
Yeah,
absolute bargain.
Definitely.
For the detail, you get it out of the box. You can build it right out of the box.
Really good kit.
Yeah, speaking to people, especially on Sunday, we were discussing it. So hopefully the F3 version will be out soon-ish next year, and certainly we're looking forward to the GR4 version. So hopefully they'll be out pretty soonish, and we can all go through it like that.
So you'll have your own squadron soon.
Well, I'm about doing many more of them. Got lots of other kits to get on with and do, as we know. But certainly from my point of view, that's what we're up to this week. So from mine, I'm working through this week. I'll get the Tonka finished off this week as well. And hopefully I might even get this together, minus the photo etch bits, which I'm going to do as a separate and work its way through and everything else like that. So there we go. That's our weeks so far. New studio lights are in. Are you enjoying the coolness? Although you seem to be hot. Although I must admit, we just turned the heating off.
Yeah. Well, plus I had chips before we got here.
Well, yeah, we did have fish and chips. Yes, very good. But the new studio lights,
yeah.
Which I must admit, it's amazing. They are what, quarter of the size of the old ones?
If that.
They're tiny little things, but they are 1,200 LEDs.
You can't stare looking at them.
No, you can't. And I've got extra filters on them as well. But that's the only thing, is they are a bit bright to the old eyes. And I've got 2 more to go up yet when this all goes up at the end of the week. So there's going to be 4 of them.
So there'll be no hiding.
Definitely no hiding. It will show off all the work.
You even adjusted the camera to make sure I was in tonight.
I did. I moved it more round for you. So, because, you know, it's a shame you can't edit Steve in here.
Put Steve in the middle.
Put Steve in the middle. We have to keep cutting to him. And there he is.
Oh, look, there he is.
Bless you. Right, okay. So, do you want to start with some questions and then we can work through all of us?
Okie dokie. Right, so Yazin has put, hi there, gents. Looking forward to tonight's show. First of all, have the lights arrived yet?
Yes, they're here. They're not up. The rig's going up end of the week.
Second is half mask respirators. What do you use? Would you use a single cartridge mask be suitable? I noticed Phil has one. Do you have any difficulty breathing through it? What filters do you use? Right, well, you can start. We'll do all 3 of us tonight. Yeah,
what do you use?
I don't.
I'm naughty
because I don't. Because I've got a window right by where I spray.
Yeah.
I have my window fully open.
Right.
And the little fan that I have got, so pop through it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, to be honest, I don't use a mask.
Ah, right.
So I am being a bit naughty, but I've got a window fully open right beside, literally right beside me. I'm almost
So you're blowing it out the window, basically.
Yeah, I'm almost spraying out the window, so while it's open.
Very good.
So
right, Steve, what do you use for respirators?
I do use a respirator, but it's been pinched for DIY purposes. But I've right above where I am now, I've got a Velux window.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also got my extract unit next to me, so it draws the fresh air straight through. So it's quite good that way.
Brilliant job. And for me, well, as you know, I've got two smaller extraction units, which normally when I'm filming with you guys goes at the end here. I've also got this bad boy at the back, and as you all testify, I do have all three running.
You certainly do.
When I'm doing so, if I'm shooting this way, it's almost shooting it out, and then it goes out, and then through that one and out the house. I have got this one as well, but to be honest, I don't tend to use it. I used to, when I used to do videos and all the rest of it. I tend to use this one, if I'm honest, if I'm sanding resin, i.e. when I was doing that monster, doing the Star Destroyer, there's so much resin dust flying everywhere. I filled up the filter systems on those ones down there. That's just generally. So I was using a respirator as well.
Good.
But as I say, mine's just a normal one. Nothing flash. It's not like those mass things you get if you like, you know, biohazard walls.
So I'm assuming that's with normal standard filters.
Yeah, with it. Yeah, just the filters that came with it, which I don't know if there's a particular micron count and everything else like that.
Okay. Weld marks. So this also I think would be up Steve's.
Steve, over to Steve on this one then.
Yeah, I did put it down in his thread that he started, but best for weld seams is using either stretch sprue or just a piece of plastic rod. Stick it to your model and then start putting loads of diagonal scores in it with a knife. Then when you put your glue on, it gets right down into the plastic and helps speed up melting it. And then it's just a matter of adding glue and shaping it how you want with your scalpel.
Very good.
Lovely.
Brilliant. Nice one. Okie dokie. Next.
Okay, next one is Wayne.
Evening, Wayne.
3. Hi, Phil and Sid and Steve. Looking forward to another great show. Phil, will you have a couple of models dressed up as new Floory girls at Telford? If not, maybe Sid can help.
Well, this is it. We're going to get Sid in a wig to walk around there. And I think also from your side, Steve, I think we should get Rob. Perhaps he'll wear a wig and all the gear and walk around Telford as a Floory Models girl.
Yeah, he's the pretty boy.
Yeah, he's the pretty boy of the group, isn't he? So I think we could definitely do that. It would work really, really well. So yeah, apart from that, the girls will be there this year. We've got obviously Mel's going to be there and her lot. So it'll be really goody like that.
And then Wayne's put at the bottom of it, put Haribos in a bowl because it makes too much noise with the wrapping rustling. Oh, but unfortunately,
Mel eating them. Mel's eating them.
So he's eating all the Haribos. Bless her. Peter, come at 4. Evening, gents. What's the daftest injury you've suffered whilst modelling?
Right, Steve can start that one. Daftest injury.
I super glued my hair to the bench when I dropped a part on the floor.
Your hair?
I went to get up, hair was stuck because I had a little pile of super glue. Putting that. So as I went down picking a piece up, my hair went into it, and then when I went to lift up my hair, brought up the cutting mat. And I've also stuck my thumb to a piece of resin, and when I removed it, took my thumbprint off with it, and got right sandy skin off a part.
At least we have to hide from your fingerprint now.
Yeah, that's it. It's got no fingerprints on his thumb anymore. So go on, then, what's yours?
I don't know. The only thing actually jumps in my head is hitting my head on the table. As, again, bending down to pick something up. As I come back up, whack my head on the thing, just everything went flying. Yeah. And that's about as much, obviously, obvious cuts and grazes as you do when you're playing with the knives, but nothing majorly silly.
Well, mine is purely because I am a klutz when it comes to knives, to the point where it's amazing I've still got fingers. So that's why I do use disposables. I use this type because if I had it, like, it scares the crap out of me when you're dealing with those scalpels, and it's like, it's like watching car crash TV.
Well, all of mine are broken now, so I've bought myself one of those now.
That's it. But that's why, you know, I can't do much damage when it's only got, like, you know, a couple of mil, 5 mil hanging at the end. There's not much I can kill myself with that. My worst one is the one you lot all know, is where I actually I had a pair of scissors cutting that cardboard, and I cut the skin between the webbing between my fingers with a big pair of scissors. And then, because it was on camera, I thought, like, man up in it. So I put a bit of super glue on it. And then what you didn't see afterwards when I cut away was I actually squirt a kicker in there. And that was one of those biblical type of events in your life.
We'll do again?
No, because it was even crackling and smoke coming off where it reacted that well. I might as well just stuck my hand in a blast furnace. That's what it felt like. Although there is no scars, so it does work very well. I'm scar-free there.
Apart from your arm as well, when you set your
well, yeah,
table.
I've still got the small scar from that one where it was like, but say from a pain point of view, that is definitely the one. Because not only did I cut myself open, which was pretty bad, and it was a proper good slice, to then sticking, super glue in a cut, which is what I do for everything. I'm very much, Rambo me. Come along here, just glue that together. But I'm one of these people, I'm a complete wuss. So if I cut my finger on something, I won't look at it. I just hold it, put a bit of super glue in, and then that'll do. Because if I open it up and it suddenly opens big, I'll be like, oh my God. I'll faint and pass out or something.
Out on the floor.
Yeah, that's it.
Peter's put, I've cut myself loads of times and stabbed myself with drill bits and bits of brass. But my all-time best was when I'd been beavering away at my modelling desk for some time. I was really pleased with my efforts. So as I got up, I patted my thighs as a well done. Forgot I was holding a scalpel at the time and stabbed myself in the leg.
Stick yourself in the leg.
Different.
Accident. I was told last week by a friend of mine who's he does a lot of commission work in America, and he's got one of these bib things from Tamiya that you clip to your bench.
All right.
And the idea is, right, when you drop small parts, they drop down.
Yep.
But he's been doing a bit of spraying recently. So what it was, he clipped it to, he uses like that industrial like paper towel that's really wide, and he just puts a bit over, and then because he does a lot of photography work.
Yeah.
So he clipped it to that, and as he said, the phone rang, and his missus shouts to him, "Oh, can you grab it?" So he stood up, walked off with him still attached to the paper towel, and it went. And he's been working on a ship, a 1-200. It's the Tamiya, not the Bismarck, the other one. Steve, we see the other one, the other big 200 Tamiya one, the US ship.
Oh, Tamiya trumpeter. You mean
Trumpeter.
the Missouri?
The Missouri, sorry, he's working on that. And as I said, he's into the paint stage and it's small bits, and he stood up and walked off, and it's gone off his bench now. And it's a mess.
Ooh, dear.
To the point where he thinks he can salvage some of it, but he's going to have to buy another kit to take the parts off to redo it. So he said, not painful, I know, but if you that's a cock up and half, and you don't want to do that one.
Ouch. Right, Robbie, post 5. Sometimes I find that the buffer polisher is too wide to be able to get into areas I want to polish. I try cutting it down with a knife, but end up with quite a rough edge. Have you come across this problem, and do you have any techniques to pass along? Love the show, Robbie.
Thank you, Robbie. Not really. Try and cut them down yourself. We were going to do a skinny version. We'll say we, it's not me anymore, is it? But this is going back last year when we brought out the new one. But because it's fabric based, if you try and cut it thin, it just rips, because it's not like it where it's like well, whatever the stuff is, because it's a material, it doesn't like to be cut that small. So that was the trouble. So we could only do it in really this size. You say we might be able to do one a bit smaller if I have a word with them. You never know, maybe for the future, but certainly at the moment it's this size. Really, as you say, I would cut it yourself. Take your time, razor saw, and go through it that way. Or a very sharp blade and cut it that way. But there's no real easy ones for that. But as you say, I tend to just angle mine. I come in from an angle and go in that way and then that way, So I haven't got a bit here to show, but if I was doing something like this, I'll come in from an angle and go up to an edge like that, then I'll come in from the other side and go that way, and just polish it out like that.
Okie dokie. Stephen, post 6. Hi, Phil and Sid. Enjoying the shows. Usually have to watch them later at work as our home ball band is like dial-up. With regards to comments last week about paint mixing and acrylics especially, I had a love-hate relationship with them in beginning. As Phil mentioned, gunging up your airbrush, etc.
This is extra acrylic stuff, yeah.
I followed a recommendation of just using the maker's thinners, and now love them. I do that with all my paints now, and touch wood, have not had any issues. Another thing I do is mix externally in a small measuring cup, and then add it to the paint cup. That way I find if there is any issues, I can just bin it and start over again without having to strip the airbrush down. I think it is the way to go when starting out, at least until you have worked out what paints and thinners work for you. Carry on with the great work.
Yeah, I think, you know, Steve, thinners, what's your recommendations? Do you have a particular favourite you'll stick to?
I use Tamiya, self-leveling Mr. Colour thinners, or Vallejo's new formula thinners. Them three, you should get through every paint going.
Yeah, which is basically what I do. I think the big trouble with the extra acrylic stuff is that thing, though, is that you have to treat it in a certain way. And as I say, don't try and thin that stuff. I think with lacquer thinners, it doesn't like it. I think it tends to tar. But if you over thin it, you can thin anything. You know, you just have to add a lot more thinners to it. But what's your thinner of choice?
Again, Tamiya. I do have a bit of the Vallejo because I recently bought some of their paints. But again, at the moment, because I use Tamiya paints most of the time, been using Tamiya thinners. So, yeah. But
yeah, I think you can't really go wrong with using their own thinner, isn't it? Let's face it, it's designed to use it. It's what it's there for. And if you're like me and I only use 3 types of paint, technically, I've got 3 types of thinner. So, you know.
I was tempted. I was going to try and get hold of your thinners. That's the self-leveling one.
Yeah.
But the website that I went to had sold out.
Was that Models I'll Go?
Yeah.
MDC do it in the UK as well. I don't know if they've got it, but
yeah, so I just have to wait now. Because if I get it all from one place, then it saves on postage and all sorts. Then.
Well, yeah, it does get expensive because it's things that can't go through. But Telford's coming soon, so
exactly. I'll save you pennies for that.
Save your money for Telford.
Right. So Toby quotes or post 7. Hey, you guys. Look forward to tonight's show. Got a request, please. Can Phil please do a video tutorial series or helpful tip video on photo etch? Ta-da!
Watch your space. What I'll do is I will over video, as I call it, where I just video everything. Then I'll edit it separately, perhaps, till I do the video builds. Because obviously I don't want you getting bored to death with the video builds and me spending 2 shows doing an entire thing on photo etch. So what I'll do is I will record everything during the build of these Bombays and show you the different techniques for doing it, for using photo etch and bending it, gluing it together, and everything else like that. But the Bombay is a complete separate lump that goes in it, so you should be able to do it.
Okay, so you put it together and then
a standalone type thing. Yeah,
good. I know you have some photo etch going on in some builds, but would be great to see a beginner's video showing the basic tools for something like an Edard Profi Pack build, and then move into a more advanced photo etch builds and the sorts of tools needed to do that.
Yes,
guys.
Very true. I did have that.
Honestly, he's not disappearing under the table this time. He's
no,
looking for something.
Here. It's just I have got a photo etch plane here somewhere.
He's looking for something.
I've lost it. Sorry, John.
Right, while he's hunting around the room, we're going to post 8, which is Mark. Hi, Phil, Sid, and Armour God Steve.
There's the Armour God.
He's known as a god.
There's our Armour God. Everyone bow.
Oh, bless. Yes, definitely. I will begin watching covertly from work tonight, which is mean I'm getting quite good at lip reading. Yeah, good luck with me reading out then. Phil, when you started Floory Models Pro Modeler, did you think you would grow to what it is today?
No, never, ever in a million years did I ever think.
That's quite a good question, I suppose, isn't it?
It is actually, yeah.
Because I suppose you wouldn't, would you? I suppose.
No, when I started this out, the whole idea was just to give something back. It was like a bucket thing, you know. As I say, I had a bit of a sort of near-death experience, and it was that thing lying in the hospital bed, and it was like, where we go now?
Who's going to remember me?
No one's going to remember me. I'm going to be on a park bench somewhere, aren't
So
I?
I'm going to be remembered as Sid and Phil.
Yeah, we remembered as the Sid and Phil show now.
Or Big Bird.
Yeah, that's it, Big Bird. But no, yeah, it was just one of those things. Originally, it's just that I wanted to give something back as I was doing what my career was, which was commission work. And I did commission work. It was my full-time job, and, you know, it's my only source of income. So I thought, you know, if I can do a few videos on the side, and luckily the people who I was doing commission work didn't mind me, you know, airing it and all the rest of it. So it gave me that ability to do it. But as you say, things changed and took over until it's become my entire life, and I don't do commissions anymore, purely because I haven't got time. So yes, in a nutshell, no, I just never thought we'd get to the size we are now.
And I suppose it's good as well that you haven't actually grown bored of it as well.
I must admit, this morning was a classic example. I came down here at 8 o'clock and jumped into doing this, and it was one of those, you know, I still had that little bit of a buzz starting a new kit, you know, got one almost out of the way and everything else, and it was like, gonna get on today. And I must admit, I've been in there all day and just pottering on and all the rest of it, offloaded the cameras and did a little bit of editing and the various bits and pieces, and it was just a case of, you know, still get that little bit of a buzz.
Good.
And I still have that thing, I look at the stash and I'm like, can't wait to do that, can't wait to do that. So, but yeah, especially with recent events and the company changes and that,
yeah,
it's really sort of relit my fire. Yeah, that's it.
Right, question for Steve.
Oh, right, over to Steve.
So, Steve God, is it possible for one of your future builds to explain about constructing metal tracks?
Yes, I'll do that. In fact, I'm going to use metal tracks on my Cold War Russian Army SIG entry. So I'll be putting together a set of through tracks. So we'll go into detail. The easiest way of doing it. It's basically you just need to link the two tracks together, and the instructions say you just drill out the end two bits and then feed the wire through, and it takes forever doing it that way. So if you slot the links together and then get a pin vise drill bit and drill straight the way through, the wire just goes through nice and easy.
I suppose it's easier because you're following through the hole in one then, instead of having, could have the holes out of alignment and then trying to pin it.
Yeah.
Because I must admit, that's the only bit that's put me off is literally, it, you know, not wheels, but to track things is like massive and everything else.
Yeah, they're quicker to do metal links and plastic links where you have 3 or 4 parts to each link, or even a normal set of individual track links. Because by the time you've come off the sprue, you know, you're looking 4 cuts, then you have to clean up them 4 parts, and it just takes all night to do. So metal links are definitely the way to go, and I'll be using them a lot more from now on. So I'll definitely make a point of showing you how I do it and try and get some really good photos.
Yeah, brilliant job. Also, do you have to clean up, because obviously I've only ever used metal tracks once. Do you have to do any clean up to them? Do you get like flash and that, like from white metal and stuff?
No, only the smallest amount, but no, not really.
Oh, that's all right then.
Very much.
Brilliant, because you get the nice sag with them, don't you?
You do.
That's the thing, the nice scale effect, rather than rubber ones.
And then it's good to stick them in some burnishing fluid, so you do get that actual rusty appearance.
And whose burnishing fluid do you use?
It's that Uchi van der Oosten, and also because they bottle up, I believe, the stuff you've got in your hand AK.
Hold on, they can't see that. Yeah.
So you can use that, but it's the same stuff. And
Yeah.
if you just soak your tracks, I think in malt vinegar or a vinegar first.
Yeah.
Then put it in the solution and just leave it longer than what the instructions say, and it does eventually give you a nice rust colour. But you do need to use the acid first just to
Etch into it.
Yeah, take a kind of the ox, whatever they call it, off the surface of it, and it works a treat.
Have you ever overdone it and then, you know, come back and it's eaten it away?
No.
Oh, so it's just me then who left. I did it with railings on a ship once, and I left it in some fluid overnight. And I came back the next morning, lifted it out, and it was gone. It just eaten it completely away. So, all right.
The instructions usually say you leave it for about 5-10 minutes, but I've left it up for an hour before today.
Oh. So the bit where I left it in overnight was probably a little bit too long.
Yeah.
Oops.
I did. I came down into the pot there. I came down. I lifted it out, and it should have been this long, and it's just like cut off. It looked like acid just hit off at the bottom.
Oops. Ian Smith. Post
Evening, Ian.
9. Good evening, lads. I've been watching from work this afternoon here in Montreal. Phil, now you will be doing more videos each week. Will you be putting up all 3 videos on Fridays, or will you putting them up during the week? Say like one Monday, one Wednesday, and one Friday.
Yeah, to be honest, obviously, what I intend to do, this is my first proper week through this. I'm going to do another day on the actual the hind, which will give me enough then to turn into a show, and then I'm going to start on something else, my mystery object, which I'm going to start on Thursday. And then what I'll do is by next week, what will happen is as soon as I've edited it, I'm going to put it up. I'll probably leave a gap, so I don't want to obviously spoil you lot too much. So what I will probably end up doing is you're probably going to get one Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But that is my goal now, is to do 3 a week, 3 parts a week. So between this and the new show, so that'll be like 1.5 hours. We do this for like 3 hours. Then the new show's like an hour. So yeah, so you have to spend like 8 hours a week with me.
Oh.
Well, that's the plan. That's the plan anyway.
Can you cope with me for 8 hours a week?
Well, this is it. Yeah, that's the trouble.
Post 10 from Mike. Hello, the Haribo kids.
That's us.
Yeah, unfortunately we got none tonight though, because Mel's eating them
Mel's
all.
eating them all. Oh, you did a weird.
I heard that.
Yeah, you heard that.
I'm loving the shows. You two are close to becoming an institution like Hinge and Bracket.
Oh well, we'll have to get the outfits. We'll do that for the Christmas special.
Why not?
And we'll get everyone in, Steve and the team and everybody else. We'll cut to everybody.
Definitely.
All dressed up.
See behind them. Right, my question for you both today is: what was the first model that you both built? Mine was the trusty Airfix Spitfire.
Oh. Go on, then you go first because he's not looking.
Oh, the helicopter's about to start, Phil. So.
Oh, all right. So if it gets a bit noisy, this is where Steve's computer fires up to life, and it sounds like a gas turbine. So right, go on in, Steve. You're live. What was your first model?
First model, going back to when I was a kid, must have been one of Tamiya's dinosaurs.
Oh yeah.
I remember doing. I think it was Tyrannosaurus Rex.
That's right. Yeah.
I remember doing that.
I'll tell you what. That's just reminded me. It's I built that as well, and it must have been. They're the only kits I can think of who had them out. Would have been that one as well.
I think it might be the Triceratops I built.
Yeah.
Or the Stegosaurus, I think they
I've had a wooden dinosaur before, not a kit dinosaur bit.
Oh, yeah, they do them. Yeah, they very good ones as well. Might be very old, but some of them. So yeah, so that was your first ever build then?
That's what I can remember, yeah.
So what was your first plane build?
First plane? Well, nearest him to a plane would have been the space shuttle.
Oh yeah.
And then after that, I know I built a Lancaster as a kid. And
what was that, Tamiya 48?
I honestly can't remember going back as a kid, but when I restarted the hobby, I used to do 1 to 72nd RAF planes. Started doing that, so I think the first one would have been the Sterling.
Yeah.
Then I did the Sunderland, and then it would have been the Lancaster again.
Yeah.
I remember doing that. But they were awful, absolutely awful.
Hey, thank God they've retooled. Some of them.
But my builds were awful. They looked
right.
No, it's definitely the
kit.
kits.
Yeah, blame the kit. That's all we do. What was yours?
I don't know who it was by, but it was the C-47. Is it the Dakota?
Yeah, Dakota.
72nd scale. So was it Airfix one?
Could have been. Yeah. Yeah.
That was the first one I built.
Age? What age were you?
Oh, what age?
Yeah.
Oh, about 2-3 years ago.
What? You've never built a kit?
Not
as a kid?
No.
Where were you? Born under a stone?
I used to play. I used to take with the figures. I must admit, you know, the 72nd scale figures.
Yeah.
But never built.
So you never built a kit as a kid?
As a kid. I
think we should have a whip round for Sid there for not ever building a kit as a kid.
No, never actually built one.
Oh, I went through 3 phases as a kid. I went through destroying my brother's ones because like he was doing it and I wasn't. So yeah, I was that little sod of a younger brother. He'd build them, finish them, put them on the shelf, and I'd go and trash them. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, that was that. Properly done. I think my first one was the P40 Warhawk. I remember doing it. I think it's one of those things trying to shut me up. Here's a model kit and some paints. And it was like bright yellow, places I think my mother could think to sand, I don't know, and everything else. So I did that, but didn't last very long, if I'm honest. When I got back to it, and this is a blast from the past for you guys in the UK, is Kellogg's Cornflakes were giving out kits inside packs, which would have been around about 1984. So I was an 11-year-old then.
I was still a babby.
Yeah, I was 11 then. That I used to build them out of the kits, and it was a real basic rubbish thing. And that got the bug back, so I ended up going down to my local one shop, and I bought a couple of Matchbox ones, which actually was the Matchbox 172nd RAF Phantom, which I intend to build again at some point, just for reminiscence purposes. And I bought the paints for it and all the rest of it, and I made it in the afternoon. Literally chucked it together. It was all good to go.
As you do.
As you do. Yeah. And so yes, that was my history of doing those.
Mike was saying built with his Airfix was his Airfix Spitfire built with UHU glue. So there was more glue.
I was going to say, yeah, you put the glue on it.
More glue on me than.
Yeah.
But when I had finished it, to my eyes, it looked perfect. Fogged canopy, unpainted plastic. Those were the days.
Yeah, I think I didn't master like not fogging a canopy for years. It used to just turn white, so it was easier to paint black afterwards.
I didn't. I don't think I painted mine. I don't think my first one.
No.
I didn't even put any gloss coats or anything like that down. I just whacked the decals down.
I didn't decal for years. That was like, you know, it took too long. I needed to fly it around and set fire to it by 3. I was running out of time. I was a nightmare to kits. That's probably why I'm being tortured now for the rest of my life doing this, to make up for it all.
Post 11, which is Neil.
We're only on 11. Cool.
Hi guys, hope you're well. Going to sneak in early with something that's been been bugging me for ages. I really like the idea of doing some armour, but I'm put off by the seemingly endless effort of putting tracks together. What's a good armour kit with easy to put together track wheels, and how do you keep the motivation up to keep doing the same thing 120 plus times?
Well, there you go, Steve. This is you.
Right. Easiest kit's probably a Tamiya. To get around using track links, most of theirs come with the rubber band style tracks.
Ones, yeah.
Yeah, you can glue some of them together or use a hot screwdriver to put them together. As for individual links, what I tend to do is do it in stages. Before I start the model, I'll maybe cut half of the links off the sprues, and then a bit later on in the build, I'll cut another half off, and then I'll assemble a few at a time. You know, I would no way would I sit down and do them all in one go. You can sit in front of the telly and do them, just cut them off, sand them, just do a few at a time throughout the build. But don't ever try doing them all in one go. You'll just lose your sand, you know, you'll lose the plot by the end of it.
Yeah, I must admit that's probably a good tip. I think that's definitely the way to do it.
Yeah, I must admit, I would find it tedious putting them all together at once.
So I must admit, the thing with armour, it's like a love-hate relationship with me. I love armour because of the speed they go together. Because you can get armour together really, really quickly. You don't have to worry about having perfect seams and that, because let's face it, you know, you can just put it down to weathering and do things with them. But wheels used to terrify me until doing it now. So we're okay now because I've got my new way of doing wheels. So that's a 10-minute job and it's just spray wheels. But tracks is a nightmare. But the Tamiya one, if they're all like that new Tamiya one where it's clicked together tracks, that's brilliant. You know, it's like you could do the entire lot in under 10 minutes. You know. So my question is, Steve, why aren't they all like that?
I don't know.
Have you seen them?
Yeah, I've seen them. I've actually got the kit. Yeah, and it is.
You know,
I know Tacom have come straight out and copied their idea.
Yeah.
I think you can get a lot of tracks now. You have to buy them separately. They do actually just click together. They are workable. And I reckon that's probably how a lot of the mainstream manufacturers will end up going down that route. It all depends on the track type, whether it is possible to make them that you can just click them together.
Yeah, I suppose that thing is, it depends on the design. That one, it's really easy to hide because it's plate, isn't it? It's not like a working track where you can see it all got the rubbers on it and the boots and all the rest of it. So yes.
So there we go.
That'll be the answer for that one.
Yezin. Hi Phil, are you going to build more armour soon? I'd love to see more of that.
Yes, in a nutshell, as I said, I'm going to rotate the system as doing this. So the big projects mainly will always be aircraft, if I'm honest, purely because unless I'm going to start doing 1/16 armour. That said, Trumpeter just announced one. It was at the hobby show, wasn't it? Have you seen pictures of that? 1/16 Panzer IV.
All right.
Full, all the details, huge.
Is that a big kit?
Yeah, it was at the Japanese show this week. But yeah, I will be. To be honest, my secret quick build, which I wasn't going to tell you, is actually the Tamiya working World War I tank, because it's not going to take too long to put that together. I quite fancy driving it around my desk, because obviously I've got that one over there, but that crushes things and it's a bit too big to drive around the desk. I'll get that ready for next week's news show. We drive around the desk.
Get it to drive over
Yeah, we could have a race.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so I am going to be doing the World War I Mark IV British male, female, is it? Where you can get male, which has got the motor in the Tamiya one with those very tracks we were talking about just then. So that is up purely because I want to do that one. But yeah, apart from armour, definitely going to be getting back onto that. It's going to be a rotation system between all three kits. So
I just recently bought a duster as well.
Oh, very good.
Still with me Vietnam theory. Theory theme
with your M113.
Yeah. So I just bought that. That was the AFE club or something. So
very good.
That's coming soon through the post, hopefully.
So what's your next project for armour, Steve?
For armour, I've got to do the T62 for the Cold War SIG. And then the next one after that, I'll probably got to do the US Marines mine clearance Abrams. It's a complete Abrams tank.
Yeah.
And it's the assault breach vehicle where you take the turret off and it fires a rocket, and on the end of this rocket there's a long string of explosives. They use it to go through minefields, through buildings, you name it, just destroys anything. So I'll do a version and make that up as my next one.
Cool beans. Yeah, like it. I like that. I was saying it looks like it fires a dustbin, doesn't it? But it looks like it shot a dustbin and then it lands the other side and it blows up anything between that and it. Very clever stuff.
Still with Yazin, should a beginner build many cheap models, or should he go on to more expensive ones after a couple of cheap builds?
Yeah, I'm a great believer in, obviously it depends on your budget. If you can afford mass quality kits, then go with those, good quality kit. Because obviously, if you're fighting a kit because it's crap all the way, you're not going to enjoy it particularly, and you're having to do jobs which perhaps normally you wouldn't have to do, like big, huge sink marks and stuff. Well, obviously, if you've got a better kit, you're not going to have those. As I say, if you can only afford the cheaper kits, then obviously, you're in that price range, you can work with it. And it's a bit like scale. People can't afford big scale kits because they haven't got the room or the money to do it. So they do smaller ones. I
suppose as well, going for the cheaper option as well, and having to deal with sink marks and stuff like that as well. I suppose you get used to dealing with them so that when eventually you do go on to
when you step up,
you don't realise that actually, you've got it off to a hat now, so you don't have to worry about it.
No, that's right. That is very true. So, I would say it's always nice to have kits you don't care so much about, so you'll try new things. I know I've got things like Buster and stuff like that, where perhaps I'll try a new technique or something else on it, because it doesn't matter if it goes wrong. But sometimes it's nice to have a kit and just try something new, perhaps, because it may be a situation I'm a great believer in what works perhaps for me, and I show you guys and I might turn around and say, oh, you just do it this way. Yeah, I know for a fact it doesn't work for everybody, so they might just say, yeah, well, I don't do it that way, I do it this way, and it works for them. And it's a bit like airbrushing, you know, you get people do it one way, you get other people do it the other, and whatever works for you. But what I would say is, though, is that, you know, I wouldn't get into the habit of just saying I can't. You know, I know guys, and probably a lot of you out there, who've got kits in your stash and you won't touch it because you're not ready for it. You know, like you. I would say give it a go, because, you know, as long as you can take something away with each build and you've learned from it, you know, as we said, there's nothing that can't be fixed during the build. You know, literally, there's nothing you can do to a model short of setting fire to it that you can't fix. Even if you make a hash of an area, you can always go back, even at a later date, and repaint the entire model if you're into the painting scene. You know, and you're up to that, strip it back and start again. But sometimes I will just literally, I'm going to have a go at something and we'll see if it works. The classic example is that I know so many different techniques now, I find myself forgetting about one because I do something all the time. And the Hind was a classic where I went back and airbrushed it. We're using airbrush cleaner to scrub it back, which is something I haven't done for years, because it's one of those forgotten techniques. And now I'm thinking, I must get back to do that. And to be honest, the Tornado is going to get a go at it, you know, because it worked really well for me, and it's sort of come back into my box of tricks that I use all the time. So I would say get the basics down with some cheap kits and then have a go at something a little bit nicer. Just take your time with it. You know, if you find yourself you're having trouble, shout on the forum. You know, everyone can help out and get you going again.
Indeed. Post 13. Paul. Hi guys, hope you're well. If you happen to do requests for kit reviews, would be great to see the Edard Coffee Pack edition of the Sherman M4A1 35th kit. Looks fantastic. Will be on my Christmas list, and we'll consider to do this kit on the Sherman build next year.
Where's his Propy Pack? Is that the Edard's?
Edard.
I didn't know Edard did
Propy Pack.
Yeah, yeah, go on, please.
What they've done is rebox the Tasker kits.
Ah, right, got you.
So, you know, straight away it's a fantastic kit.
Yeah.
With Edard putting their bits and pieces and you're on a winner. So that's all you can be said on that, really.
So it's a normal standard kit with all the photo bits.
Yeah, so yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I do. I will get it, because me and Steve were speaking with the rest of the team a couple of weeks ago, and we are doing a Sherman SIG. I do believe, aren't we, Steve?
Yes.
For next year, which I do have my bit of paper here somewhere. Here it is. Looking at my bit of paper, we are doing a Sherman SIG, which is Sherman's Might, which is the 12th of September until January the 6th next year. So, all right, what a year. But I will get the kit in so we can review it. So when I do come to do it in September next year, I'll have the kit.
Or you could build two.
Or I could build two, but
one for starters, and then one to an enhanced build.
Well, yeah, true. But I intend to do a bit of armour for conflict through the Middle Ages.
So I'm just giving you more work to do.
So I know what you're doing. So by the time I work my way through all of this lot, which, you know, and I know I still haven't put it on the site, I will do.
Have you not done that yet?
No, I haven't. I know. I need to have a morning doing the forum and site and that. But I will put up the group build jobby, so you can print it off in all its glorious colour.
Awesome. Post 14 still. Colin. Hi Phil and Sid. Love the live shows. Tuesday nights will never be the same. Can you possibly do a tutorial on soldering photo etch? As I have got the daunting job of some flight path sets to make. All the best, Colin. PS. Has the puppy started chewing the house yet?
No, we're very lucky with the puppy. Hopefully the camera can see that. Look at that, it's looking quick, Sid, don't smile, you'll put it off. This is the stuff that Steve said to use, and it is great stuff, because it's got flux built into it, very heavy. It's got flux built into it, so all you do, add heat, it melts, flows, and it's lovely.
So it's a paste?
It is a paste.
And you just put it on the joint?
Yes.
A bit of heat.
Yes. Steve, you've used it a lot, haven't you?
Yeah, it's good if you're using, you know, the large structural parts.
Yeah.
One thing you have to be careful of, if you apply too much heat, it just goes straight across the photo etch and it'll undo a previous solder seam that you've done. So it's getting used to using it, but it does work very well. Stuff like when you're making boxes, you know, putting, yeah, mainly structural parts really. If you want something really tight that's got to have a lot attached to it, use it. Yeah, it's just controlling temperature.
What would you use for heating it?
I use, which is, I forget it out.
Yeah.
I have a little, it's a Go system gas top. Yeah, a little gas blower pen. And you just need to flick it quickly onto the solder and it'll go change colour and it's easy to use.
Okay.
Looks it, I've got one too. I'm out of gas. Yes, look, and there's all my little nozzles on the bottom there to keep it, but you haven't got any gas in it. So yes, that's mine.
Oh, I've got gas in mine.
Is that a flame or is it just heat?
That is, have you got yours working? Yeah, there you go.
Oh, so it's a little flame.
Yeah. And you just flick it on and it takes less than a second and I think the paste's dark grey and it'll quickly turn silver in less than a second and then you take your heat off.
All right, okay.
Because I must admit, I use it for soldering wires. Because I'll put two wires together and literally, because me and Steve got the same paint, because Steve sent me the link on this one. And literally you just whack it and it straight away. You don't hang around with this at all, otherwise I presume you burn for everything. Yeah. But it doesn't take much at all. If you're using a lighter to try and do it, it takes forever. But one of these bad boys and you're good to go. But because Steve, you sent me the link on this one, Steve. How much were they? Can you remember?
They're not a lot less than a tenner.
Yeah.
The one I use.
Okay.
There's one tip I've found, and if you use a little bit of masking tape to hold the parts together, and then apply your solder and your heat, your masking tape will obviously catch fire, but it is good at clamping little bits together. Just need good ventilation, but that's a good way of doing it. Because it is quite tricky holding the bits together. Yeah.
So next week's show, when we're here, and it's all burnt, got no eyebrows, it's sat here, and, you know.
Get some gas, we'll do a live.
Yeah, we'll do a live demo here, like, fire extinguisher.
Like that chappy on YouTube.
Yeah, we'll go. There's a small delay, stand by. That's what it will come up with.
This is where we cut over to Steve.
Yeah, cut over to Steve, and you're us in the background running around with towels, putting out the flames.
Post 15, last one on page 1, is Mike. Good evening, guys. I am getting ready to do my first Alclad. That's the one. Paint job on my P51. I'm spraying the wings with Tamiya AS 12?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's the Tamiya AS series, which are aerosol cans.
Oh, right, I'm with you. And the fuselage with Acrylic. Alclad. I am also using the black primer with my microfiller.
Yeah.
I need all the help I can get. Can Phil give me a quick run through on painting and sealing Alclad? Also, I am painting the invasion stripes with the Tamiya paint. If the Alclad is properly cured, can the stripes be painted over the finish without any problems?
Yes, you can, doing it backwards. You can paint over it, but the trouble is you can't mask over it because Alclad hates being masked over. It peels off and does its thing. If I would make a recommendation, do your invasion stripes first, mask them off completely, then put your black primer over the rest of it.
Yeah.
The microfiber stuff is very good. Make sure it's totally dried off. Any imperfections you've got in that black finish will show through, because don't forget, we spoke about this on previous shows. Alclad isn't like painting, it's more like plating. So any imperfections you can see through your black primer will show through tenfold with using your Alclad. Spraying Alclad's relatively straightforward. Air pressure right down, maximum I would say of around about 12 psi. The stuff is so thin you don't have to worry about it. Lace your airbrush as well first with a cellulose thinner. They do their own thinners for it, but if you haven't, make sure it's a cellulose or a lacquer thinner. Put it through your airbrush, especially if you've had acrylics going through it before. Make sure it's totally clean. Swill it through, blow it through. When you're all happy, then come along and then literally very light coats, building it up very nicely over it. If you get clouding effect, go away from it, okay, and then come back and give it some coats afterwards, because if you flood it too much, it doesn't sort of self-level properly. And the other thing as well, if you get cloudiness into it, it could be a contamination in the actual Alclad itself or from your airbrush down by the nozzle area and everything else. So you want it to go down in very nice light layers and build them up. So you can go over it coat after coat, because you're never going to fill anything with it because it's just so thin. But it is definitely a patience thing. Don't grab it with your hand afterwards because you'll wear through it. So if you have got some soft gloves, always do it with kind gloves, as we call it, afterwards. Purely, otherwise you're going to rub right the way through it. Sealing it, if you can, get hold of some, I love the Model Master Metallizer, of which I have got half a bottle of it now, donated to me. Use that because that won't change the finish so much. If you want a nice high gloss finish, then you're going to have to hand paint it with a gloss. And that would be my recommendation to it. Steve, would you add anything to that?
No, I think you covered all of it.
Maybe you just bottled that one. Right.
That's a good company as well.
Yeah. But yeah, Alclad, it's just that thing. I am going to be doing a special on new metal finishes shortly, towards Christmas. I think we spoke about this before.
Yeah.
I have got a plan to do something, and we'll talk about different ways of doing it. The other things where we spoke about rub and buff. Well, apparently AK Interactive, or whatever they're calling themselves this week, they now do a version of it.
Okay.
So I have got some on order. So I'll be rubbing and buffing like a good one.
Rubbing and buff.
I'll be rubbing and buffing and seeing what's going on with those.
Lovely. Post 16, Andreas. Hi, Sid and Phil and Sid. Phil, did you have any chance to test the Vallejo primer with it drying faster, adding the future clear? I
haven't actually. I don't have a mass trouble with it drying. I can get the stuff to dry relatively quickly anyway. Unless you've got it really, really thick. I can get it handleable in around about 10 minutes. So I don't have any mass trouble with it drying. Obviously in here with the studio light probably helps, but...
You've been hot stuff as well.
I am hot stuff, obviously.
Indeed.
But I will give it a whirl. I can't do it now because, to be honest...
Steve ever used it?
Yeah, Steve, have you ever tried it? The Vallejo primer?
I'm out of it at the moment because I've just asked people, texting me asking how to watch the live streaming.
So,
I'm just replying to a text.
Oh, no, we've caught him now. Caught him. Right. What we're going to do to everybody. The bit where they're turning the around and the other way. Click on them.
Picking their nose.
Yeah, picking their nose. Yeah, that's it.
Post 17, which is Mark. Hi guys, loving the live shows. My question is about spray booths. I've been airbrushing now for about 12 months and currently use a clear tub with a bathroom extractor fan in it. Seems to do the job. What do you think of the booths available on eBay for under £100?
Yeah, we've covered this if you have a look on the site, we've got various reviews where I've reviewed that one, the others and everything else. Obviously budget. I'm never going to tell people to go out and spend more money than they've actually got. It's better to have something than nothing. Two things. A spray booth will automatically cut down all the dust in your home. Trust me. So that's why I was saying your partner would love you for it.
Indeed.
It's the biggest thing I found. And the amount of airbrushing I do in here, we have courses and sometimes you have 4 people spraying a lot. You know, you've been here when we've been doing it. It gets, even my lot have trouble. Dusty. And we don't really have a dust problem in here at all. But the cheaper ones, let's just say you're talking about draw rate. It's all about how much physical air it can shift in a minute, because you want it to be the situation when you're spraying your air pressure your airbrush at it, you want it to be sucked in. You don't want it to be hitting it, bouncing off, and it sort of, you know, coming round and going back in and drying. It's got to pull everything you fire it out. And don't forget, a spray booth's only as good as you pointing at it when you're spraying. So there's no point having your booth here and you're spraying here. It ain't going to work. You need to be spraying right at it. And that way, the airflow's pulling it that way as well. Everything just goes straight in. You'll get minimal out. That way, you can get away with a relatively low draw rate. The difference is, my big one back here, you know, when it gets a bit foggy in here, perhaps I'm filming with you guys and things like that, I'll turn it on when I've cut off the cameras because it's quite noisy. I can clear this room in literally under a minute. And that includes with Alclad, which quite frankly stink. I can have that running and have no smell in the house at all, which is something I never used to get with other cheaper ones. But certainly something is better than nothing. But it's all about draw rate. The ones I use down below here, which you've seen on the other shows, and we've done the smaller ones I've got, they're about a 38 watt motor in those. That's 100 watt in the one behind me. So it's a massively different ball game for the amount of airflow they're actually shifting. The trouble with the cheap ones are around about 15 watt motors, which aren't exactly doing tons. But if that's what you can afford, by all means, buy it, because you will notice the difference. And obviously from a health point of view. You know, I'm quite happy to sit in front of mine without a respirator on, and I think I'm going to be all right. You know, the arms don't fall off yet.
Mine at the moment is a kitchen hub on its side. And I've literally got the tube out the window with the window open. Yeah. So, and I have that on full whack. Yeah.
Because Steve, you've got the same as me, haven't you? But yours has got the plastic shroud around the outside, but it's the same internals, I do believe.
It is, yeah, the hexagon, which is, if you can see it, that big one.
Yeah, because that one has a plastic shroud around it, where ours has the metal. Yours looks a little bit more robust from ours, one, but internally they're the same. They take the same filters, I think.
Yeah, it's quite a large filter, and I've also got a vent in straight out. I drilled a hole in the wall. Well, not me personally, but a hole was drilled in the wall. So we vent it out, and you do notice when you're airbrushing, you suddenly switch it on. You do notice how good they are at clearing all the, you know, like you say, all the kind of mist that builds up in your room. But they're fantastic. But again, it's like you say, if you get looking at a cheap Chinese one, if you can save a little bit more, and it's only say got to take you 2 months to be able to afford a better one, I'd rather wait on a couple of months and maybe just go about buying a couple of kits and go for a better one than getting the Chinese one. But like you say, it's better than nothing.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. The thing is, I was talking to one of our members who asked me the other day. We were talking about lighting equipment and airbrushes and stuff like that. And as I said, if you're going to take the hobby seriously, if you're going to commit to it, then you know certain things like obviously an extractor. Pretty much, you know, you're going to want one of them, because obviously if you're spraying day to day, you don't want to be breathing this crap in. And let's face it, it's all pretty nasty stuff we deal with, even if you're down to resin dust and stuff like that. You know, your tools, you can go expensive or cheap. It's a bit, you know, I use pretty cheap. I use disposable knives and scissors. I'm not, you know, here with, you know, 10, 20 quid tools for it. I'm relatively cheap. I know I've got a lot of it, but nothing is what I call particularly expensive as in tools. But, you know, as you say, things like lighting as well. Having a good quality light for working, it saves you, because your eyes aren't straining, especially now we've got the winter months coming here in the northern hemisphere and all the rest of it. You can model throughout the evening, and it's not like, you know, you come out into the light afterwards. So you can do it longer, and you can see a lot clearer and everything else like that. So in some ways it's better to save, or instead of buying kits, perhaps gear up on your equipment. You know, or perhaps upgrade. So get yourself a second daylight bulb system. So you've got one each side, so you get no shadows, which is a massive thing. Because when you've got shadows, especially, it's horrible working shadows. But if you've got 2 each side of you and you have no shadowing, it really does help. You know, an extractor, something where you can just blow your crap straight at it to clean out your airbrush instead of having bits everywhere, stuff like that. And as I say, a good quality airbrush. Tools, I think, really is, you can spend what you like, it doesn't matter. But good airbrush, good compressor, a good extractor and a light, the rest of it comes later, you know.
Ian Smith, post 18. Hello again, lads from Montreal. Phil, we know you like to make the Christmas prize draw a special one. So this year, will you be giving Sid away in the prize draw?
That's a good idea. Yes. I'll pay for his shipping. No, you Jamie, you end up somewhere like in Australia in the summer. Yeah, it'd be my luck. I'd want to go there and you'd freaking end up there. So,
That's quite a good idea then.
Yes, that's all right. We'll have to start our world tour. So we can start travelling around the world doing this. We'd be like an idiot abroad.
Idiots.
Yeah, idiots abroad. Modelling idiots abroad.
On their little blue bus.
Yeah, that's it.
Simon Webb, post 19. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Simon.
He obviously doesn't know us that well.
Mr. Webb does.
Tonight's question. I have the Airfix 48 TSR2 and will definitely be building it. As the unflown example that is at the Rath Cosford Museum. So I will be able to take lots of photos for reference. How do I make white look authentic? I have tried white on a 32nd scale MiG 21 in the past, but it ends up looking like a toy rather than like a model.
Yeah, white is like black. Never use white. Like I always say, you never use black. As I say, got a friend of mine who he works in the film industry, and he told me this one and said, never use white, never use black. It's always shades of. So it works the same way. So you want to break up your white so it's not the same all the way through. Otherwise, you're just going to have a brick on your plate, the same way if it was going to be black. So things like pre-shading to help break it up. That way you can mute it down. But then it'll just be a case of shading with different shades of the white to give you that sort of scale effect all over it. Because as soon as you just start putting down white, you're into sort of, you know, that sort of blockiness that you're trying to avoid from a modeling point of view, to break it up, to make your eye look around the model at different areas and things like that. So that would be my advice there. Steve, anything on that one?
I'd say don't make the final finish too glossy. You tend to see with white stuff in particular, if you are too glossy, they do look like toys. And if you can try and weather it in, I think if you start weathering the white, slightly satin, maybe matte finish, it does look a lot better than if it's bright white gloss.
Yeah, I would agree. I must admit, that's a very good point. I think one of the biggest things will be your finish. As I say, in that scale, I would be more inclined, as you say, to go with a satin type finish. If you were doing smaller, the 70-seconds, then I would definitely say about going in for a matte, just to flatten it off, make it look right. But yeah, break it up, shade differences, and also don't. When I say shade differences and tonal changes, and I get loads of questions asked because people say, "Can you clarify on what you mean?" It's just you're just trying to shade it slightly different, so it doesn't look like it's a different color. It's just a different hue of it, if you like. And by doing that and breaking things up, like to be honest, the Heinz classic example of it, it's probably 20 different colors all over it. But they are so close together that by a passing glance, you'd say it's just green and sandy color. But when you get up to it, you can suddenly start seeing all the different changes in it and everything else like that. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to draw the viewer to look at your model and look around it. And the reason they're looking around it is because there's lots of different shapes and textures and different shades and things like that. And that, I always say, is a good reason why you get some models you look at, and we all do it. We look at them on the internet and you think, wow, look at the weathering on that, isn't it fantastic? Weathering probably isn't anything too much. It's very simple, but it's just because it's lots of different shades and different things. It's like armor as well, like with Steve's stuff. You look at it, it's multi-tonal, it's multi-colors, but it's just different shades of it, which give you a great sort of, you know, shade effect all over. And it gives it a good, what I call scale presence. And anything what I call a scale presence is something that looks a damn sight bigger than it really is. So you get some guys, and they'll do like a 70-second something, and it's, you know, it looks, when you take a photo, you don't know what scale that is. It could be any scale. And to me, that's something with good scale presence.
Definitely, I'll agree with that. Robert, post 20. Good day, gents. Touching on a previous question, have you used buffables over Alclad's black primer? Any issues with the Metallizer sealer as final top coat? Looking at spraying a P47 this weekend with a matte metal finish for the first time. Love the show.
Yeah, I've got them both here, and I've used them both on various builds in the past. I just can't remember off the top of my head which ones we did, but we've used the Model Master buffables, and we've used obviously the Guns Mr. Metal colours as well. They work almost the same. I do prefer, if I'm honest, the Metal colour ones, purely because you can brush paint them, whereas that is what you can't do with the Model Master Metallizer paints. But they both buff exactly the same and everything else. It's just, again, because they're buffable, just make sure you don't handle them, because you get covered in silver and then you put fingerprints everywhere and it's a complete nightmare. So make sure you seal it down. Again, very light coats over it. Don't flood it, because you'll change it.
Okay. John Buller. Hi, John.
Evening, John.
Evening, chaps. Hope you're all well. Good to see you, Steve.
Evening, John.
Phil, I think you better get a fire alarm installed. You look lethal with that torch.
Yes. Luckily, it's out of gas.
Post 22, Michael. Evening, gents. Question for Steve. How would you do battle damage on attack?
Where am I looking?
Top one.
Oh, top one. Oh yeah, Zimmerit coat. Battle damage on Zimmerit.
Zimmerit. Yeah.
Oh look, see.
The
Yeah.
non-magnetic. Stuff the German armour put the non-magnetic coating on German tanks. I believe attack. I think it's resin. Is their Zimmerit. So basically, you could just use a sharp knife, just take little chunks out of it before you apply it. And then obviously you get the normal plastic of the model showing through. Because if you think Zimmerit's built up in layers, isn't it? So yeah. It'll give you that 3D effect. But I just cut little bits out with a knife where you want the damage to be.
Yeah, perfect. Lovely job. See, look, it's good easier, isn't it?
It is.
We wouldn't know ever after that.
Brett.
Brett.
Post 23. Hi guys, thanks for the tips on installing the resin gun bay over in my Spitfire. It turned out great. Yes, Phil, we do have snow here in Colorado, but I live at 9200 feet. So we get snow 10 months out of the year.
I was going to say, that's pretty high up, isn't it? You're on oxygen up there. I wonder if your airbrush works the same at that altitude, because there's no humidity surely at that altitude at all.
Hopefully it'll answer us.
Well, yeah, that's it. Arto, do you get humidity at that altitude?
New question. Is it compatible to use Mr. Colour leveling thinners with acrylic paints like the Italeri range? Thanks, not able to watch live, but I'm looking forward to the replay.
Yes, you can, and I do it. I'll give you a quick demonstration. Let me just find a decent colour. Today's colour will be sand, 112.
Right, well, while you're feeling shaking,
keep going.
I'm going to go read 24 post, which is Dave White. Hi, Phil and Sid. Look forward to the shows. Can you tell me what is the procedure for picking up goodies up at Telford?
Oh, what, for the sales team?
Is that regarding you, or is it regarding...
Well, just give them the money. But from our point of view, I think he's
it does help.
Yeah, I think he's asking about from the sales team side of it. I think what's going to happen is, although I have to clarify this, which I will do before, obviously, you can either place your orders here, that way you get free postage. So we'll just knock the $3.50 off your order, which is the flat rate postage on orders under 60 quid. And you'll get the full members price, and you can pick it up at the show, or just go to the show, and then obviously there will be discounts and deals for Telford, I am led to believe anyway, but it won't be better than the members discount you get anyway, but it could be pretty close from what I'm told.
Post 25, which is John. Hello, Phil and Sid. Greetings from Kilkenny. Sad news today. I was cleaning my H&S Ultra at the sink, and the 0.2 nozzle went down the drain.
No.
So I had to buy a new nozzle. But the good news is the replacement comes as part of a new AL Plus Evolution upgrade.
Oh, that's all right then.
Neil, post 26. Any hints and tips you can share on dioramas? For example, aircraft runways simulating the ground beneath a low-flying aircraft, or perhaps something armor-related, like a bow cage 1944 scene. Perhaps create a how-to guide on making your own bases, different ways of mounting models, diorama bases, etc. in the future.
Very, very true. But our master of ceremonies over here, our Steve, this is his territory. He's very good at doing his bases.
All right, okay.
Because you do quite a few bases for your armour and bits and pieces.
Yeah, mine tend to be more on the simple side, but a lot of it for rough ground, especially, you start with a layer of plaster, or you can even use modelling clay. Just lay that out, and then you apply sand, gravel to it while it's still wet, and then you can start airbrushing it to whatever colour you want and build it up like that. If you do need any questions, probably the best guy to ask is Gordon Roberts, because he's without doubt one of the best diorama guys on the forum. If you've seen his work, and he knows everything there is to do about dioramas, a hell of a lot more than me, actually. But it's mainly used for rough ground, starting with a layer of plaster, because you need something to stick your different earth textures, gravel, sand, even earth out your garden onto that, and use white PVA glue as well to stick it down. But next time I do a base, I'll go into more step by step and how to get the different layers. It's easier either somebody doing a video or photos to show you than trying to explain it. I think that's better doing it.
Yeah. And obviously, Sid, you're experimenting with water.
Oh, God, yeah.
So I'll just drop you in it now.
Drop me in
so you can do a tutorial on how to do river scenes with like waterfalls of it flowing down rocks.
This is my first time ever. For all I know, I could just pour it out of the kitchen tap and put it on there.
Right, okie dokie.
And then stick it in the freezer, that's all it won't.
Well, yeah, but it might not only work for like half hour when you get it out, unless it's winter and you're outside.
The thing is, there's so many different products that I've obviously been, because I've been, obviously, your friend is YouTube and all this sort of stuff, but I've been looking on tips and that.
Yeah.
And so many people have sort of, everybody seems to have a different product for it.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's one of those things, like you say, it's finding what works for you. So until I've actually attempted it, I don't know.
So have you ever done water, Steve?
I haven't, no.
No, right, forget that. That was easy. Right, next. Right, okay, moving on to this. Yes, it does thin it, because I've just done it. It doesn't like it. So what you basically ended up with is, well, it's thicker than it started, and that's the trouble. When you use a genuine, and when we say genuine, we mean like a proper acrylic, if you put cellulose thinners or lacquer thinners into it, it will thicken it. To the point where this is thicker now than it was when it came out of the bottle, but if you continue to thin it, then it would thin. And I've got no doubt that would go through my airbrush. I don't think we can show it to the camera. I think it's going to work.
Spill it.
Yeah, so I'll tip it over something again.
With his gammy arm.
But yeah, as you probably see here, this is Model Air, so as you can see, it's thicker now than it was when it came out of the bottle. But it's, you know, it's one of those things. I've done it before. Like, I know for a fact extra acrylics does not like cellulose thinners, but stuff it. More cellulose thinners, it will thin it and will do the job. I don't know anything it won't do. I'll tell you what the classic example was for it is, I think it's Vallejo's normal one, which is the white top ones. If you put cellulose thinners in that, it goes like toothpaste. It's really thick. But then you just keep thinning and thinning and thinning, and it will give up eventually. Like I said, you can thin anything with enough thinners. It's sort of defeating the object in the first place. So,
right. Post 27, which is a question for Steve.
Oh, Steve.
This is from Matt Smith. How do you get a good mud effect on armour, like it has just been in the biggest, dirtiest puddle known to man? Wet look and dried on look. Cheers, guys. Watching with anticipation for your answer. Hopefully, see you at Telford on the Saturday.
Oh, we'll all be there.
So yeah, so it's wet.
Yeah, for really thick, heavy mud, probably the best way is to start using plaster, and you can mix it with pigments, then put water in it, Then if you get a quite thick brush, dip your brush in it, and you can use your airbrush to create mud splatters, and you splatter it on. Plus you can then take the plaster and just start sticking to the underside of the model. And if you want it to start looking wet, once it's dried, you start adding gloss varnish to it, and it gives it that wet look, so it does look wet all the way around. But yeah, the easiest way for me, I always find mud splatters, heavy mud, is using a mixture of water, plaster, pigments to change the colour of it. You can actually use Phil's wash as well. If you mix that with plaster, so you get kind of a thick paste, and then either use it as mud splatters or stick it to your tank or whatever you're building, it does look like really good splattered on mud, as it has been just through a big muddy puddle. And like I say, you need gloss coating to give it the wet look, but you can get wet effect products, but all they are is gloss varnishing them. So that's the way I would do it.
Perfect, thank you very much. That's a good one, actually. So yes,
Jürgen,
Polysil.
as Fabulous Phyllis proudly presents.
Oh, we've got a Phyllis one now, have we? Oh, very good. What I'll do, Jürgen, I'll use those for the page, because obviously we can use them as a title page for the ones when they appear on YouTube as archive.
And underneath it's got a picture of us pointing at each other with Phil and Sid, special guest tonight from the home studio in Huddersfield, Steve Sutcliffe.
There he is.
Yeah. Up north.
Up north. Yeah, for you guys who don't know, obviously for the ones who don't know England very well, if you imagine England looks like somebody sitting down with their legs out, driving a car, we're in the bit near the feet. So we're down in the far southwest tip. In fact, we're not very far off the most southerly point of England, which is East Prawle.
Near the ankles.
Yeah, so we're actually technically I suppose it would be the heel of the foot down the bottom there. Steve is about halfway up on the right-hand side. Is that about right, Steve, of England?
Yeah. Right, no, more middle.
Yeah, it's more in the middle, right-hand side bit as you're looking up there. So he's a bit like shoulder blades area, but in a bit. Hey, look, it's descriptive way of showing where we are in England.
Post 29, Peterfield. Guys, I'm sitting looking through for the umpteenth time the plans for the for a 1/25th paper scud.
Paper? Oh, look, you can tell him all about it soon. Now you're into Papercraft.
I was going to put in the Russian Code War SIG, all written in Polish. It scares the what's-its out of me, and I haven't a clue how to do it. The artwork's fantastic, and hats off to anyone who can do these, but it makes me want to curl up in a corner and have a cry. Think I'll wait for trumpeters and Ming's scuds.
Yeah, Ming's scuds.
It's been years since I did the Dragon one. Have you ever bought a kit that when you looked at it, you thought that it was beyond your ability?
Yeah, space shuttle launch pad.
Yeah.
And it was paper.
Yeah, that was paper.
Yeah, so if you don't want it, Peter, just donate it to Phil's barbecue next year.
Look, I still get hate mail over that when people say, I can't believe you burnt it. I didn't. They all burnt it for me. I just didn't stop them at
You
the
were
time.
doing the editing.
I was just filming it. Oh, that's terrible.
Crying, of course, behind the
Yeah,
camera
it was quite funny.
with laughter.
Yes. An afternoon of heavy drinking. That's what made that one flow well. But yeah, as for paper stuff, I agree. You know, we had Steve, remember it as well, no doubt. Remember we had the guy who did the tornado in paper, the GR1 Desert. He did a paper one for one of the group builds a few years ago. That was very good. It was the tornado in paper.
All right.
Very clever.
In fact, people for paper ones are Bob Pryor and his son.
Yeah, Bob Pryor. Yeah, he did all the ships. Yeah. So yeah, no, I'll tell you what. There's a real art form to it. There is a real art form to it, I must admit. I must admit.
I found getting the glue to dry was the most daunting part. As I say, clamps, having enough clamps.
Well, you got all your pegs from Tesco's.
I've now bought a load of
Is that
pegs.
where you bought all the pegs from Tesco's?
Yeah.
Or did you build that first, then bought the pegs?
Funny enough, it was a bit of both.
Oh, it's usually the way, isn't it?
I still needed some after I got the pegs, but yeah, no, I thought to myself, well, when I saw them now, I thought it was too good an opportunity to miss.
No.
So yeah, for anybody, I bought, I think it's a pack of 36 clothes pegs with the rubber tips in the middle for £4.
Bargain, Tesco's.
Yeah,
Every
Tesco's.
little helps.
Every little helps.
No,
So,
but seriously, I must admit, doing Papercraft is like totally, you know, it's hats off to the guys who do it, because I can't do
I
it.
could say the thing that I mean is that it doesn't look flat.
Well, the difference for yours to my space shell, in my defence, yours is cardboard.
Yeah.
So what they call card stock. Mine was described as card stock, but it wasn't. It was A3 bits of paper. You know, 90 GSM. Was it ever going to hold the space shuttle? I don't think so.
No, that does have a mixture of card paper and actual card.
As I say,
the bits that you can see in there,
yeah,
I put loads of stuff in there as well to try and strengthen it.
Oh right.
Because obviously by the time that you stick stuff around it, it might cave in. And
I like the way you've got little R's on it. Has it got L's on the other side?
It's got L's on this side,
right.
yeah.
Very good. But no, I must admit, it is quite a solid lump though, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say, well, I sent you a picture of it. Me and Phil obviously go airsoft, and I bought a metal, what would you call it, an ammunition box.
Yeah,
opens on the top. And that's still got some of my BBs in from my airsoft, and I literally had that sat on top of it to hold the glue in, and it didn't buckle at all.
Brilliant. No.
And that's some weight.
Very good.
But for that sort of model, I would have thought, and it managed to hold it. So
brilliant.
So it'd be interesting to see what it looks like at the end.
We'll be all right. We'll be good.
You never know. I might even get it finished for Telford.
Well, you've got a month. A month tonight. We'll be there.
Chuckle for.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it, Steve. We're holding to this one. If he hasn't got it, he buys the first round of drinks. And that includes all the members who are coming as well.
Neil's answering.
He's getting close. I'll sabotage it.
Yeah, you probably would. Neil's answering Peter's comments about the big Polish piece of paperwork.
Yes.
How much Polish? I have a few friends who are Poles who might be able to translate the tricky parts, if that helps.
Very good.
So going on to page 3 out of 4, I think. Yeah, still on page 4. So yeah, going on page 3 now. Post 31. Peter again. Thanks, Neil. That's not really the problem. It's just beyond difficult, and despite nearly 40 years of experience, this is way beyond my skill set. I'll go on, give it a go.
Yeah, you'd be all right. What can go wrong?
Always got a nice fire at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'll tell you, a great firelighter. Those chilly cold nights coming up.
Post 32, Robert. Greetings, Phil and Sid from Toronto. I have only had a chance to catch the last show. I put the two of you on in the background as I built away, made good progress on my stalled current build. So I think I will need to keep tuned to your archive of shows if I want to finish the group build.
What I'm going to do as well, because somebody mentioned this the other day, but it's sort of great relaxing, we've called it relaxing, so I have us rabbiting in the background, but I will put together a system where all the archives will play one after the other.
All right.
Which I can do that via the powers of YouTube. So you can just click it and it'll just then go one after the other, so you can have us yapping forever.
Lovely.
Great.
Before you know it, there's about 6 hours gone past.
Hey, we broke 720 videos now on YouTube.
Oh, wait.
So I reckon that must be at least, what, 22 days of solid now.
22 days of my life wasted.
See, look, do you get that?
2 days of my life.
Robert's question. I am not sure if it's been asked before. Have you ever had or have a kit that you were afraid to start? I am asking because part of the silver screen group build, I did a fine mode Millennium Falcon, and I was terrified of buggering it up. The kit had always been a holy grail to me, so it was always on my. That's right. It was always on. I would put back into the stash about 3 or 4 times before I actually started it. If there were or are any kits that you are hesitant on to start, what are they and why?
Go on, you go first.
Oh, my one at the moment is just the ship.
Oh, what you're doing the Iwo
Yeah, because it's obviously one of those. It's such a big build that you'd have to be wanting to do it and stick at it, rather than sort of just do it because it's there. So yeah, that's the one I'll probably keep putting off.
Right, Steve, you got a kit?
I'm going to them afraid of building, but I've got HPH Models Resin Walrus.
Yeah.
Thing, and I'm going to build a Wingnut Wings kit first purely so I'll get the rigging right. Because obviously it's a very expensive kit, it's a HPH Models.
How much is it?
I think, I think they're about 160, 180 pounds. So
and you have to print your own manual.
Yeah, you do, yeah.
So give it to you on a disc, so you have to print it yourself.
Yeah. I'd rather practice on rigging first on another kit before I moved on to doing that one.
Come on, practice on fields.
Yeah, you can re-rig the Wingnut Wings triplane for me. That'd be all right.
Yeah.
Get in there, be all right.
I'm sure he'd love it.
I've done it now. I don't have to do it again. That's it. No, I must admit, I'm not frightened of rigging anymore. I always was. It's one of those things. It was good that you guys made me do it, because I was for years. You could have put Wingnut Wings in there, and I would say that was it. I'm not doing it because it's full of rigging. Now I've done it. Actually, wasn't too bad. I prefer to do it my way than using the like RB Productions buckles and Bob's buckles and all of that, because that's complicated to the point of give me a couple of months of my life back after I've done it all. With that, it was 2 days.
Well, I know people do it in 72nd scale, and that would just blow my mind away. Doing
Yeah,
it
well, that's
scale.
just crazy, isn't it?
Absolutely amazing work that they do in 72nd scale.
That's amazing when you do it that small. Not good.
Especially when it's more the mature people that I've seen do it as well.
Yeah,
so their eyesight and fingers and all that sort of dexterity and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, indeed.
Very clever.
Michael, post 33. Hello, gents. Question for Phil. What's been the most popular video build you have done in terms of views on the site?
Do you know what? I haven't looked for ages. If I'm honest.
That's something you can do for homework for next Tuesday.
Do for homework for next Tuesday, actually.
We've actually got 97
live views at the moment. The most popular video, I think. Hold on, talk amongst yourselves. I might be able to actually bring it up. That's it. Everyone, just talk amongst yourselves. I will tell you.
Make sure you get the right videos, Phil.
Yeah.
That's why he's got the separate screen so we can check first.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely right. Okay, off we go to our channel. We go to Video Manager. Okay, so we want to go here by most viewed. Right, okay.
Oh, that's easy.
Okay, most viewed is, that one's at 148,000 views, but it's an open one. A video build. It's a photo. Hold on. It's a new show. Hold on. New shows. It's a new show. Hold on. Let me just skip a couple of pages. They're all new shows, funny enough. Because obviously the new shows are free for everyone to see. So we're looking for obviously someone in here who is not a new show, and I've got no way of doing it through this one. Probably would have quicker here.
You got some nice jumpers.
Yeah, that's the early ones. There you go, stripy jumper there. Right. Right.
You got hair on that one.
Whoa. Oh, here we go. Right. Okay. Hawk Part 1. That was quite popular. Got any winners up here? Because the trouble we've got is, don't forget, we switched over from our own server to YouTube. Because I know what it used to be, but what it is now, obviously, if you was to tally them both together, is a little bit different. But Part 2 of the Tornado is very popular. That one's right up there at the moment. Airbrushing, the tutorials and everything else, they're all very popular like that. So I don't know. If we're going back to how it was, definitely it used to be the F14 trophy one. That was hands down massive amongst anyone else. It was on like a 2-to-1 ratio. You know, so if you think our membership was around about sort of 2,800 at any one time. So if you're looking at it like that, that one has been watched something like over 10,000 times, where people are re-watching it again. Oh, because it's obviously now, what, 4 or 5 years old, that one now?
You didn't put no bloopers in it then, that's why they're re-watching it.
No, the blooper ones, the cribs ones are very popular. Do you remember I did the cribs one? Which is so it showed me on the toilet at the end. And then I had complaints over. Do you know, I had 4 people complaining of me sat on the toilet. And they said, I ruined it by me being sat on the toilet at the end. So it's like, sense of humour is left the room.
And along with that question was, what tend to be the most popular subjects for your video build?
To be honest, it's always aircraft. It's modern military aircraft are always the most popular. I think it's just because, you know, it's just that thing kit sales. I think armour's now really getting itself together. It used to be, wasn't it, the dark side was always seen to be armour. And it was always the poor relation to aircraft kits. But now I think there's more armour out there than there is actually aircraft kits. I don't know if you would agree with that, Steve.
I'd say there were, yeah.
Because now
they just tend to repeat themselves a lot, where they are bringing out more and more armour kits of stuff you haven't seen before, especially with all the modern stuff that's been built recently.
Yeah.
It'll carry on with that trend. But
yeah,
definitely. And it's picking up on the forum as well. There's more armour guys coming on now than there was a year, 2 years ago. Definitely.
Yeah, I think, you know, the thing is that certainly from my point of view, obviously I've been doing this job now for almost 20 years. In the early days, just, you know, armour, you really had the Tamiya 1970s kits, and that was really it. You know, obviously there was other things in other scales, but if you're talking 135th, which is sort of the bread and butter scale for armour, you know, it was really sort of, you know, very limited on what you can do. But now you look at it, you can do anything. Yeah. All the different versions, all the recovery stuff, it's like massive. But yet you don't get that with aircraft. You know, you don't suddenly get 20 different versions of the same aircraft released. You know, it's like certain ones, you know, but yeah, definitely aircraft are always going to be more popular for some reason. But I've always tried to develop the site, especially to have it as on an equal platform. Like when we first started, obviously I'm much more into aircraft modeling, so that's what I did. But having people like, say, Steve on the site and everything else was a way of, they've got the knowledge of what's to do and coming out and the techniques, obviously building them. So that's why we sort of got Steve in here, so he could sort of showcase his fantastic, amazing work to you guys, because I don't do it that well and I don't know it, I don't understand it. And it is that thing, when you understand, you know, your subject matter inside out, and Steve being really, you know, into his armour, he can explain it far better than I could. And that was the whole point to it. And I'm hoping what will happen is over the next few years, especially, we'll get a lot more of like the civil side of it. So your normal, like your racing cars and bikes and just normal cars and stuff, and your sci-fi, because before it was always aircraft, massive, 90%, you know, then you had 3% into armour, then all the other bits. But I'd like it all to sort of everyone be on an equal footing, and to have everything in there. And it's something that's definitely been, we've got more broad now, especially. So
I still find though that the normal day-to-day cars, there isn't any kits.
Because that's all licensing, though, isn't it?
Which I think can be quite disheartening at sometimes. Because, you know, most people would want to say, for instance, build their first car that they've had, but you just can't get the kits for them.
I wouldn't want to build mine.
Why not?
Because I had Hillman Minx.
So?
Why would I want to build it? I spent most of the time trying to kick the thing to get it to go.
Well, kick it and get it to go this time.
I had a Fiat 126 as well, and I used to keep a £10 hammer on the back seat. wasn't for personal protection. It was to hit the starter motor and get it go.
Is that what you told them?
It was rough around our area. Those badgers, they're walking around in like 3 or 4 of them in a dark alley. No way. They're hard.
Post 34, which is Lance or Lance. Great show. I'd like to know what you do with all your finished builds. I am just back into the hobby, nowhere as prolific as most, and even I'm starting to question where I'm going to put each finished model. Of course, my wife won't have a TU22M sitting in most areas of the house where she has decorative control.
That's it. They'll be fine. There we go, Steve. You can start with that one. What do you do with all yours?
Look, I've got quite a lot of space. I put them on shelves, bookcases. But unfortunately, I've got people who live in this house have a tendency to come into my cave area and knock things off bookcases and shelves. And that includes the dog. When we first got her, she jumped from the bed onto my computer desk, and I had the Academy 1 to 32nd F16 all made up.
Oh no!
Yeah, straight on the floor. And since then, with the tail she's caught, I did a striker, all full done. She's taken out about 3 or 4 arm things as well. So don't go start building shelves higher up.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, tail fight. That's it. God,
you got that one with Lola soon.
She's actually all right. She's not allowed in it. No, she's actually. She does.
In fact, Phil, I'll give you an example of how clumsy people are. I've got a nose diving.
Look, it's like through the keyhole.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh no.
That's the.
Lost its nose wheel.
Yeah, that's the H. Hong Kong models. Yeah. B25. In fact, on Sunday, Rob actually picked up, or it was Gordon, as it were nose diving off the bookcase the other day. So, but that's what tends to happen.
Nightmare. That's the trouble, though. It's keeping them safe, isn't it? And
it is.
I'm putting them there. So go on then. Where'd you keep all yours?
In a plastic box.
Plastic box.
I must admit, I've put mine in a little display cupboard.
I have. I've seen that. It's very nice in your.
You have.
Yes.
No, normally if I go off to a model show, I stick them in a plastic box, and because I'm lazy, I won't take them back out again. I'll just leave them in there until the next one.
Yeah.
So normally in a plastic box, either in a cupboard or under the bed.
Well, for me, years ago, it was all commission work. I never had a model, and it was great because people come to your home and they say, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" You go, "I'm a model maker," and I say, "Oh, can I see some?" No. I just didn't have any because it went. No,
it's copyright.
That was the thing. It was just a case of, can I see some of your work? Well, you can't actually. I'll show you a picture of your work, but I can't show you my work. Now, obviously, I've got the display cabinets behind, but I'm rapidly running out of room.
You are.
So Thursday, Friday, I'm not filming because we're having the rig put in and all the bits and pieces. So I intend to put the hind in there. So something's going to be sacrificed out. So it may be Airwolf will have to stay in there, but I'm probably going to shift out some of my smaller 148 stuff from many years ago. So I think the 190 will go, the 109, but they won't go. They'll just go into a box or something else like that and poke them out of the way. And then that way everything will drop a level and the hind will go in at the top, because it's a bit like, fossilization. The new stuff goes at the top, and as it gets to the bottom, it will go out. But I have definitely run out of room now. I need technically a little bit more room, but it would be nice. What I'm planning to do is take one of those shelves out, and the Star Destroyer is going to go in there as well. But there again, if I do that, I'm going to lose 4 models.
You are.
So, but I'd like to get the Star Destroyer out from up there and get it in undercover as well.
Is that because you don't trust the shelf?
I don't trust the Sparky in here.
Oh, yeah.
So that, to be honest, that's why they're all going. I'm shifting everything because you know what it's like. We're having this metal system put in above, so everything's going out. I just don't. You can just imagine it. So we've had a small accident. Yeah, great.
Your insurance covers it.
No, it doesn't actually.
That's what that is.
Yeah. They're asking you about putting a claim. Oh yeah, 100,000, man. It's a very, very rare one. Steve, write us a receipt.
It's gold plated.
Yeah, that's it.
Ronald, post 35. Good evening, lads. Sorry I missed last week due to football. I have a note from my mum to prove it. I wasn't playing.
Oh.
I remember those days, yeah. Anyway, question for you this week. I had an accident with a little spillage of Tamiya extra thin over the wing of the Eddard's top Falcon I am building. The damage is not too bad, but has left a little damage. Should I rescribe this or rescribe this part of the wing? And also, do you thin down Vallejo primer? And if so, what is best to use, i.e. Mr. Hobby Leveler or Vallejo thinners? I also use home brew, but want to know what goes on best.
Extra thin, if you ever spill it, don't touch it. Just forget about it. Don't blow on it, just let it naturally evaporate. The stuff is so thin it will evaporate, and if you don't touch it, technically it shouldn't do too much damage. Okay, it evaporates for it. Unless you tip literally half a bottle over it, then it might start to make things soft. But the worst thing you can do is try and rub it off, because what it'll do, it'll soften up the entire surface, and then you go to rub it off, and then whatever you rub it off with is going to scrape it away and rub it all away. Many a time I've done it, and literally you just leave it. And I've done it on paintwork as well. I've got a completed model, and I put a big drip of extra thin on. Again, you think it's going to eat your paint. It does. It bubbles up. It looks horrible. You leave it, it will go back down. But obviously you haven't. So let it totally dry as well. Give it a long time. I take it, you know, this is something that's happened over the last couple of days or something. Let it totally dry off so it goes completely hard, because otherwise it will be soft. So if you come along and try and rescribe it, you might end up dropping deep and going over the top with it. But yeah, obviously you can rescribe, polish it, you know, sand it, and put all the detail back. By the time you put primer down and paint it, you should be fine with no problem at all. Thinning, I presume you mean polyurethane stuff. Favorite talk. I don't. Obviously, I just literally spray it neat, and away you go. Never had a problem with it. Just remember, we seem to mention this every week, isn't it? Very thin to start with, build up a layer, then go in with your heavier one straight afterwards. 2 passes without I can coat anything. But the first one has to be extremely dusty, so you almost can't even see it. So you just mist it down and you go on. I haven't ever thinned it, so I wouldn't know what you would thin it with, if I'm honest. But yeah, Steve, you ever tried to thin it?
I very rarely use it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I do have some, but I don't tend to use it that much. So
no
comment on that.
No, right. Next.
Simon Webb just ordered full set of Floory sanders and a full set of Floory washers. Please bring them to Telford with you for me to collect there.
Right, okay. What I will do is I will have a word with the sales team. Oh, you can use a posh one. Oh, yeah, if you write it down. I will pass this on to the sales team in the morning, and I'll get them to refund you the postage, because obviously it would charge you the postage, and I'll get them to obviously keep it back for you, and they'll put it in a separate place. So if you just come and see, well, either any of us that will be up there, we'll sort you out, and we'll be fine with that. So that's no problem. I would say it'd be lovely, but I don't make any money from that anymore.
Quick question for Steve.
Oh, Steve, you're up.
Would you consider doing a full video build of a tank for US Armour? Oh, sorry, for us Armour virgins. I have never done an Armour build before, but your good self and other members make it look so easy, which I know isn't. Phil's tank build was excellent, but I would enjoy watching Steve building on a video as well.
True.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Well, we have actually talked about it before with Phil, and I did give it a go, but I had a problem with my camera's focusing system. So if I can eventually sort that out, and then how to get it onto my computer quicker, because it was just eating memory cards. So I really need a bit of technical advice on video, and I would give it a go.
Well, that's all right. I might be able to send you a video camera, because I will have some spare. When the new ones come in here, I can either hang 4 of them above me at different angles, or I'll send you one up. We can do it like that, and you can give it a go. I think the thing is, people don't appreciate it's not as easy as people think. You know I make it look so fantastically easy and
Indeed,
simple,
yes.
but a lot of people have tried to do obviously what I do, and it's not as easy as it looks. It's a different way of building, because when you're showing, you're not building for yourself, and I think that's the thing. So from my point of view, I've got the cameras in this nice big studio, so I can get the angle so I can build, and I'm used to sitting back whilst I'm building so you guys can see everything. When you're in obviously a confined area, you're trying to get a camera in with you as well, perhaps 2 cameras even, to get it all in there, and then to literally, you know, be able to talk to the camera and show things back to front, and even build back to front so you can see it on the camera. It does take a little bit of practice, and all the rest of it. But me and Steve have spoken about it, and I have said to Steve that if he just then gets the raw footage to me, I'll edit it and all the rest of it and have a go. But other members of the team have tried it in the past, and as they pointed out, failed miserably, because it's not as straightforward as it would seem to do. Failing that, Steve, you have to come down here for a week.
We will.
So I'll get Steve down here for a week and I'll film him. Well, you can be here as well. We're all filming.
I'll be
around with all the
cameraman.
cameras. Yeah, you can be the cameraman. And I'll sit next to you saying, "Why are you doing that? Why is that?" So yeah, we can do something like that.
Indeed. Post 37, which is Alan. Hi, Phil and Sid and Remote Steve.
Remote Steve.
By the time Sid reads this post, you'll be on your 2nd beer and 3rd packet of Haribos.
No Haribo tonight. He's done.
How about building the Haribo Boeing 737?
Yeah, we could do that.
Neil, post 38. Another question, if I may. Could you go over what distinguishes one grade of Floory sanders from another, and what you would use them for? I'm always forgetting what a blue core means, or a white one, for example.
Right. Well, actually, it's a good job we've got these here. These were dropped into me by the glamorous assistant earlier. These are basically everything we do, barring the big sponge sheets. Okay. In the actual in bag one. Okay, if you were doing this, the number for this one is FMS 001, okay, which is Floory Model Sander 001. You get the big one with the white side, okay? This is the jumbo one. This is purely a polisher, okay? The white side, which looks like does nothing, trust me, is the good bit, because that will gloss everything it touches, gets rid of scratches and all the rest of it. The blue, normal, thinner sponge sander is your general 90% of the time, just your normal sanding and everything else like that. The black one is what we call the sander polisher. It's basically got wet and dry paper on the back. It's fully waterproof. You can use this water. It's self-cleaning, you know, does everything. But it's a sander on one side, and it's got like wet and dry on the back for polishing. So it's quite handy. It's sort of your jack of all trades one. Then, right, it's an empty bit. In the other bag, you've got the thing. So where you've got the blue skinnies, that's just the same as the blue sponge, okay? It's just a skinny version of it for getting in. These are 5mm thick, okay? Then you get the black, 2 of the black ones, which is this one, which is the one we just spoke about with the wet and dry. You get 2 skinnies in there, okay? Then you've got white cord, which are coarse. There are 2 types of coarseness, and I can't remember the grits off the top of my head. Yeah, coarseness, is that a word? I don't know.
It's going to go in my word.
Okay, that's it. We've used it. But yeah, it's your coarseness. So it's extremely coarse on one side, and then not quite as coarse on the other. Okay, that's the white. So it's coarse for white. Blue is the intermediate, the medium one, as we call it, which again has got a, it's slightly finer than what you find on the coarse one, and then a lot more finer. Okay, then you've got the green, which is the finest one of all, and it's our fine, skinny one. And being green, it literally means for the finishing one, and it's extremely fine on each side. It's 280 grit by 300, if I remember rightly, on that one. So yeah, that's your differences. So white, coarse, blue is your medium, green is your fine. Okay, and as I say, if you do the skinny set, you get 2 of the entire range. Or even though on the new show, I was told I got that wrong as well. I said you get 1 of each. On this week's new show, you don't. You get 2 of each. So you actually get a 10-pack.
You've been told off already.
I did get told off for that. So if you buy, I can go on a sales pitch now. So I don't have to now. It's not my job. But yeah, if you the sets, obviously, if you buy the skinnies, you get 12 in a pack. If you buy the sponges skinnies, you get 10 in a pack. So they're quite good.
Okay. Hello, Jan here, because we can never get.
Oh, hello, Jan.
Name, so we've
nicknamed him now.
So
hello,
he's
Jan.
now called Jan.
Yeah.
He's even put that at the bottom of his little signature bit now as well. Just call me Jan.
Yeah.
Thanks for the tip on the seat belts for the vodka.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's the one.
Last week, Decker. It's a good job I remember all of this.
It is, isn't it? Real tight, but I think I can place them. I've got a question. A friend of mine currently sitting next to me. Say hi to Peter. Hello, Peter.
Hi, Peter.
Is thinking of starting this hobby. Hang on, yeah, Steve. Don't say hi, Peter.
Wave, Steve.
Hi, Peter.
Yeah, sorry. You have my hand on my mouse.
Is thinking of starting this hobby. Also, he wanted to know what are good starter kits and the basic hobby tools needed. Main subject: military, jets, and armor. P.S. I hope you say similar as what I have advised.
Yeah, that's it. Tools, we've spoken about it before. You know, as I say, you can go really basic where you literally just need something to cut it with. As I say, I use orange scissors, but you could use, say, a disposable cheap knife. You're going to need some type of sanding tool for cleaning off the pegs, if you like, off the sprues. For those parts, so I would recommend a Floory Models sanding product.
Indeed.
Others are available, I've heard. And then, you know, really ignored a glue. And I must admit, you really need a type of weld action extra thin glue. Tamiya, obviously, we like, but Mr. S, if you can't get it, is a good one. Trust me, if you're old school, coming to that stuff is like night and day, and it's a real good thing. After that, it's your basics. So pegs, clanky pegs.
Yep.
Some spring-loaded tweezers come in really handy just for holding small parts and stuff like that. You know, and then it's that thing you can just go on then from there. But that would certainly cut your things off your sprue. Tape, glue it together. But as I said, tape. You know, for the minute you can just use normal tape, masking tape, just for holding things together.
Yeah.
And away you go. You don't have to go massively over the top. And everything else. Do you think of anything else, Steve?
Tweezers are a good thing to buy.
Yeah, except that tweezers.
Just looking around. No, I think that's about.
Just for your basics, isn't it?
Yeah,
like?
Yeah. You mentioned a cutting knife and stuff like that, but they're the main basics.
Definitely. Yeah. So then, yeah, as you say, next up, you're going to need probably some type of filler. But again, there's so many on the market. You know, personally, my perfect favourite is the old plastic perfect putty.
I must admit, I use that a lot now.
It's just easy to do. It's easy to clean up and all the bits and pieces, so it's ideal. And then after that, obviously, you're talking paints, which is a different ball game. As for kits,
again, we discussed this. The Airfix new range.
Yeah, any of the Airfix new tool. Make sure it's the new tool, not the old tool. Yeah. Things like that.
Again, Tamiya's.
Yeah, anything from Tamiya if you want to go. But it depends obviously how much you want to spend. Everything else like that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Rebels.
Well, yeah, quite good. Yeah. Well. Starter armor, Steve. What would you recommend?
Depending on what era you're going for. World War II, Tamiya, then more modern stuff. Hobby Boss, Trumpeter. You can't go wrong with them.
No, that's right.
The Trumpeter, they tend to do individual track links, which, you know, can put some people off. But like I said earlier, if you just do them in batches, you know, there's no problems. You know, I'd stay away from Dragon to start with, because they tend to be a lot more in depth of a build, and the instructions are terrible. If you haven't done a couple of kits under your belt, you'll be totally confused by them, because they tend to have a lot of sprues that, you know, letter A, because they take bits from different kits, put them together. So it says part A1. Well, you've got 4 sprues that are named A. So which one is it? And then they mix up the part numbers in the instructions. So I'd stay away from Dragon until you get going.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I must say, one little thing whilst we're talking about it, one thing, you know, obviously it's quite a large kit, this Rebel one here, but it doesn't actually have sprue numbers, as in it's not like A, B, and C. Oh, so you know what you do? You do the usual. It says, oh, part number 149. That could be anywhere.
Ooh.
So you don't have that usual thing of saying it's on sprue A, one, because none of it's done. So
it's
like
numbered
here,
from
part
1 to
18,
whatever.
part 98, part 99, 94. It could be anywhere. So I must admit, doing all the little stuff on here, it took me a while just to track them all down. Just try and find where they all are. But yeah, got there eventually.
Oh well.
Never mind.
That's why we get you to build them first.
Hey, no, there's a build going on. Got a buddy build going as well, so it's not just me.
Post 40, which is Gareth.
Even Gareth.
Hi, Phil and Sid. +1. You'll be watching the show.
Now. I've gone from a god to +1.
One question, as well as on the Friday news show, any chance of doing 1 or 2 kit reviews?
Hey?
Yeah, that's what I just think. One question, as well as on the Friday news show, any chance of doing 1 or 2 kit reviews?
Oh, sorry, either I'm missing something. I thought I did do kit reviews on a Friday.
I'm assuming I'm reading that right.
Oh, unless we're talking about what we were on about early, Gareth, yeah, iPhone said +1 question as well on the Friday show. Oh, do you mean doing a kit review live? I think that perhaps is what you mean. The only trouble is, obviously, it's the quality of showing it live. You won't see it. I have experimented with more than one webcam, which is quite an interesting experience because we can do it.
Okay.
But it means somebody has to be
on
controls, and I'm doing a little bit. I've just put it on auto now, so whoever talks it goes to.
But Steve, talk.
Hello. You're on
Yay!
If I keep talking, it'll stay on me.
It will actually. But no, the thing is, because I turned it off earlier because it was jumping back and forth. But no, the thing is, you know, obviously I can do a live one here, but really you're better off with me doing them on the Friday show.
Because I did say you'd like doing that 45 Destroyer live, but I don't think it would have worked out.
Again, I can't show you. I can talk to you about it by all means. You know, and if you want to ask me some questions on perhaps the reviews I've done recently, because I tend to forget. But if I've done a review like last week's reviews, and you want me to go over some bits and pieces, as long as I've still got the kit here, I'm quite happy to do that. But certainly from me showing you, obviously I can't do it. We don't have the quality. Yeah. I don't have any webcams above. I've got the main cameras up, which are actually on still. But yeah, they aren't actually connected to any of this to actually show, and obviously with streaming and stuff like that, you know, we're really getting technical then, and that's well over my head at that point. So yeah, probably better off to stick to the Friday shows, and I'll put them in then, and then don't forget they go live. What I am going to do is, now I've got a bit more time, I'm hoping next week especially, I might spend a day redoing the main site where I'll put the reviews in the main site, because I haven't bothered, because I haven't had time for best part of 3 months. If you haven't seen a review or you've missed one, just go to our YouTube page. They're all in there. There's a section called reviews, and I fixed it the other day because it was doing a batch run, so I put them around the right way. So,
okay,
all good to go.
Post 41, which is Daz. Evening, Sid and Phil. I see my name's come first this time.
Oh, pack that in.
And it says he's a veteran. Yeah, it says Floory Models veteran. So no, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's because Daz has been with us for years.
Well, there you go.
Yes.
So he's putting my name for yours now.
So actually, what's the date on his thing? Where it's like
2009.
See, there you go.
So yes.
So yeah.
I hope you're both well. See, look, I'm here to watch the show from the start. So there you go.
That's it. Goody goody.
And he's live from Kent.
Very nice. Evening, Daz.
Indeed.
Nice work on the old Lancaster.
Which one?
I think he's doing the 48.
That's gonna be a big
tinier one. Over that, I'm thinking it's something completely different. He's definitely. I'm sure it's Daz who's doing that.
He is. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh, God, job your ear. Little voice pipes up. It's like, gee, thank God for that.
Josh, post 42. Hi guys, enjoying watching your weekly shows. Do you recommend using paint masks or insignias and letters, or have you ever tried using them before? I'm considering trying using paint masks for the first time on my next model.
I'm contemplating doing the first time on my next model as well.
I've got a set as well for my M113.
I have it. This is obviously the Edard one that comes with the big Ed set, which has got the markings as doing them like that as well. So,
Steve, have you used them before?
Yes, briefly. It was for the B25 that I showed you earlier. To get the bat shape on, you do get a kind of a mask set that would pre-cut and you put on there, but apart from that, not really, no. I do have them for different insignia, especially the US Army ones, but I've never tried them.
Is that because they don't work well, or...?
I keep forgetting I've got them. So.
Yeah, by the time he's put the decal on, he's just remembered he's got them.
Because my bit where I'll be off put by using them is whether they bleed or not.
Yeah, but then I'm a great believer in, you know, with all the masking, spray dry, spray it neat, especially if you're doing it for that type of thing.
Because this would be yellow as well, yellow onto like an olive drab.
My pain would be trying to line it all up, especially if you're doing like something like here. You've got the cross, so you've got to put in the little bits as well. It's like, to me, it's easier to use a decal, surely.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, I might give it a whirl though. I say you might. You see that get out clause?
What's this space, Josh?
Yeah, yeah. I'll do one wing. The others get deckled. You know it's not good.
Has he? Or has
he go on?
Hi guys, this is post 43. Lovely M113s and a Jeep Sid. Thank you very much, and thanks for sharing us your pictures. You're welcome. Took me a while to get it all to work out though, so I haven't used PhotoBucket for a long time. So yeah, it took me a while to work out.
Just shows how often you post up on the site then.
Well, it's a long time since I've done anything with those. Yeah, and for some reason I have to put mine on back to front. So the picture that you want to see first, I normally have to put on last.
Yeah, there's a thing in the settings where when you upload them, it's like the
So
order it does it. If you do newest first and newest last, you can do it, and then that way when you do a bulk upload.
I don't go into this. I don't even bulk load. I just have to do them individually.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
I'll have to come and have a tutorial with you.
That's tutorial. Use the photo, but mind you, they change every for like 2 weeks.
Personally, I think it's better to paint the 0.5 cal. Hang on, let's get this backtrack a minute. Lovely for sharing your pictures. Personally, I think it's better to paint the 0.5 cal tools, cables, toes, and etc. separately, and after that, glue them to the main body. I hope you will keep us updated on your progress. And a question to Steve. Right, I'm with you now. Painting all the bits and bobs afterwards.
Right. Yeah.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, question to Steve: what is your way of adding an anti-slip texture to a modern tank? Love the shows. Keep up the good work.
I do have a product that's now out of production called Caster Coat that I use, which is kind of, I don't know, a burnish kind of embossing powder, I think it is. But from now on, I'm either got to use silica sand, or a company's come out who, MIG Productions, have come out with some anti-skid paste. It's like an oil paint, and that's got the texture put into it, so you can use that. And I think there are other companies coming out with this anti-slip surface. Probably the one way you can is if you get the silicon sand, which is really, really fine. They use it in aquariums. You pour down a diluted PVA glue onto the surface of your model, and then you can sprinkle it on. And then, obviously, once your glue's dry, tip it upside down, take the excess sand off, and that'll give you a realistic surface. But I've yet to try this new MIG paste stuff, so I'll give it a try and let you know.
Fantastic.
Lovely job.
Or find someone who's got an aquarium.
Indeed.
Grab a handful of fish. I just need to see if this works.
Wait for it to make fishy going on.
Yeah, that's it. Get home, you've finally got a prize fish in your pocket.
Post 44, which is Dave. Evening, gents. I up to Steve. Having never been to Telford, what tips do you have, if any? Best day to go, what's parking like, etc. Thanks.
Deodorant. No.
It does get warm.
Does not need it.
Tips and tricks. Okay, you have to imagine Saturday is horrendous. It's like the biggest car boot sale you've ever seen.
Everybody rushes.
Everybody rushes around. Everybody tries to get everywhere at once, purely because obviously they're looking for the bargains from the traders, kits that may be limited and things like that. I'm not aware of any kits that are going to be like that this year, but some years there's big rushes on various things. It's full on. It's one of those experiences where, unless you've been, it's very hard to explain it. I describe it as like it's the world's largest car boot sale.
If you don't like crowds, you're not.
Yeah, if you don't like crowds, don't go on the Saturday. If you want it to be a lot more relaxed, you can talk to people and everything else. Sunday is definitely your day to go. You know, do a list of what you want to get, and then
and try and stick to it.
And try and stick to it, because it is so easy to get carried away. Because I know people who have said, "Oh, I'm not spending anything that's maxed out the credit card in half hour." Because it's one of those things. You're in a scenario where you're in an environment where you can get everything you've ever wanted for the hobby. So that bit where you think to yourself, "Oh, I've always wanted one of them," it's going to be there. So it's very easy to get carried away.
Definitely, I would have thought.
So I would say do a list of the things you want to get. Obviously, where you can get them from. If you go to the Scale Model World website, there's a list of all the traders who are going to be there, okay, and roughly where they are as well, so you can print that out to work around, because it's over 3 halls. It's quite a big thing. It's quite easy to sort of get lost around it and everything else.
I must admit, I only my first time last year, and I saw something, but I'll come back to that. Do you think I can remember where I saw it?
Yeah, so.
Couldn't for the life of me, and obviously I'd missed out because I couldn't find it.
Yeah,
so.
And that is the thing. It's very hard to explain it unless you've been there. As I say, it's like a feeding frenzy that first on the Saturday to around about 2 o'clock. After that, it becomes what I call normal, and then Sunday is what I always say is quite a nice day, because especially from my point of view, I can talk to people a lot more. There's not like the crowds you get, because we had it at one point, it was something like 10 deep around our stand. People just couldn't get in to buy stuff from us. I had loads of people saying I couldn't get near you, you know, and that's what it's like. It's horrendous. Yeah, Sunday is a lot more laid back. So if you are coming and you're going to pick one day and you're not after a bargain or a specific reason, because everything will still be there, it's literally come on the Sunday because it's a lot more quiet. It's a lot more laid back, but as you say, it's like a scrub on a Saturday morning. 10 o'clock Saturday morning, it's a nightmare. You also have to imagine the traffic. I don't know if it's any better, but some years they've been queuing for ages trying to get in. So either get in beforehand or park inside Telford somewhere else, okay, and walk across to it, because it's not very far. There's plenty of parking around the shopping centre at Telford and walk to it, because it's not too far at all, rather than trying to get in their car park, because otherwise you'd be queuing for hours to get in there. And everything else, but it's well worth it, because say you'll see stuff you've never seen before. Probably, certainly, I see stuff every year I go, and I'm pretty much in the trade. So
it was my first year last year, and my eyes were popping at me.
Yeah. So yeah, anything to add on that one, Steve?
I'm just testing.
Call him.
Doing a quick test on this.
Oh, look, he's doing it live. That's all right.
It goes on rather well. Just
that's it.
Like that, and I've put some on, spread it out. And I'm actually using a brush that I've just put in some Tamiya thinners, and it just brushes nicely all over the surface. So could be worth investing in a tube of that if you're
there we go. So yeah, that's MIG Productions, is it, Steve?
It is MIG Productions, yeah.
MIG Productions, anti-skid.
Yeah, it smells like furniture polish.
Oh, right.
But yeah, it does. It brushes really nice. So it could be acrylic based, I don't know. But it sprays beautifully with.
So you can make out you've been doing the polishing when the missus comes home.
Yeah. So, right. So I wasn't just daydreaming.
So yeah, go on then, Telford. First experience there. What would you recommend?
Take cash, leave your card at home.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest.
Yeah, that's a very good idea, actually.
Because there is quite a lot of traders that do have these portable wipe things. And I know some that actually will write down your credit card details. So it's absolutely lethal. I know first year I went, I spent an absolute fortune. So definitely do that. And keep an eye out, because some of the bigger kit sellers, they do offer show specials. So you can save money by actually collecting the kits. Not only will you save postage, but they do give discount. And if you're into your Zokimura stuff, go onto their website, because they always do show specials that you can pre-order, and you usually save about 50% on the recommended retail price of the kit.
That's good.
So there's little things like that, but yeah, biggest thing, take cash and leave your cards.
That's quite sensible.
Yes, well done. Voice of sensibility there.
It is.
Yes.
Party pooper.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously his credit card bill was horrendous.
Yeah.
So he's like, never doing that again.
Learned me lesson.
Yeah.
Post 45, which is from Russell. Evening from Rusty Lee.
Rusty Lee.
We're both here for a change. Looking forward to the fun and games, and also seeing Mr. Steve again. Evening, fella.
Evening, Rusty.
So I'm just changing pages to talk amongst yourselves.
So what page are we on now?
We're going on to page 4 now, out of 5.
Quick, go quicker, because it's 9:15 already.
Nathan, good evening, gents.
Never been up this late in months.
Toby Page, hi. Hi, Steve, great to see you.
Hi.
Toby's page is put, Steve's Typhoon looks awesome. Well done, matey.
Thank you.
Clint, I don't know, you said you will start having 3 kits on the go at once.
Yes.
I long-term build, one long-term build, 1/48th, and then something little different.
Yeah.
My question is, when are you when you are done with the Tornado, what is next in the 48 scale slots?
Next in the 48 scale or the medium slot will be the Tamiya World War I tank. Is going in that slot. I don't think it's going to take too long with that one. Should be 2 weeks under my new regime of building. When I say long term, a lot of people have said, a couple of people messaged me about it. I'm not talking like 6 months build here. I am on about, they'll probably be done, I would reckon, like sort of 2 months, because I say I've got a lot more time these days, so I can push them through a lot quicker. The medium build is just something where it's more of a straightforward out of the box. So it might be something 48th, it might be something armorish, something, you know, what I'm talking, we're talking 30 seconds of big stuff, which is going to bog you down a little bit. Something I've got moving along quite rapidly. And then the other one is literally, it's going to be something very straightforward. So it could be a vehicle. It could be a 70-second aircraft. I've got a plan for doing a couple of the Airfix 70 seconds, which obviously aren't going to take much at all. So they could be built literally in 2 weeks and we'll be done and dusted. But the idea is I've got stuff going over all the time, but I'm going to rotate them amongst it. So one of my big projects might be like a Formula One large scale car. So that may be a big one coming along. I've also got the Typhoon coming in probably after this and various things. But obviously it could all change slightly. I might mix it up a little bit.
Okie dokie. Post 50 is from Neil. Done about knives and Phil. I'm always waiting for a finger to drop off when I see Phil with his razor blades. What's the difference between enamel, lacquer, and cellulose thinners? Is it just the name, as it seems Tamiya X20 is different from Humbro and cellulose thinners?
Yeah, I'm no chemical expert. I don't know if Steve is, but as far as I understand it, obviously your acrylics are water-based or a synthetic version of, like Tamiya is and the gun stuff. Enamel paints are like an oil-based type paint, so your enamel type ones. Lacquer-based paints, which is cellulose thinners, is something completely different. And that's your stuff that is like your real hot stuff. So that's, you're talking about your buffable paints, your Alclads is a lacquer, stuff like that. The thing is, you can thin with lacquers most things, enamels you can't, okay? I call it hotness, i.e. how much this stuff burns and does all its bits and pieces. And that's the way it actually works. So enamels, you're pretty safe to put all enamels over an acrylic and it won't even touch it. It won't affect it. That's how you used to do washes in the old way. So you talk about people using like mineral spirits and stuff like that. That's like an enamel, I do believe. I could be wrong about all of this, but this is how I do it. But lacquer thinners, that will strip acrylic and eat acrylic on the spot, okay? And all the rest of it. I don't know, Steve, do you know any more on this?
Not really, no.
No, I must admit.
Like white spirits on top of acrylics, but I know they're all separate.
Yeah. From a colour point of view, I haven't got any of the buff one here. It says pulling his back. But you've got X20, okay, A, which is the A for acrylic, okay. You've got X20, this is enamel thinners, which has got the blue top, okay, which I don't believe is available in the UK. I must admit, I get mine in from the Far East. And then they do X20 again, but it's actually a cellulose thinners or a lacquer thinner. I think they describe it as lacquer on the Tamiya bottle, but it's got like a buff coloured top. It's more sort of that colour top on it. It's more of a buffy colour. That is the one which you could use as like the same as the Mr. Colour thinners, like the self-leveling thinners, because it's a lacquer based. The enamel one is different. So you do have your 3 types of it. But as I said, I am not into my things. If any of the members know, they can post that up in the forum for it. But all I know is you can safely put like enamel thinners over acrylic paint and rub it, and nothing will happen. And that's how you used to traditionally do your washes, because it's the same as using, like, you know, odorless thinners and mineral thinners. It's because literally you used to be able to thin oil paint, put it over acrylic paint, and it won't attack the acrylic. But obviously, if you tried that with cellulose thinners or lacquer thinners, it will melt everything on the spot. So you definitely don't want to do that. Yeah. But yes.
Post 51, which is from Sam. Hi, Phil, Sid, and Steve.
Evening, Sam.
Phil, can you tell me where you bought your work lamps lighting? Many thanks.
Well, it depends which ones you're on about. Obviously, these new LED ones are not cheap at all. They're 600 quid, but as you say, they're more studio thing. They're designed to be on for hours on end. They're low consumption. They're 1200 LEDs working in harmony to do this. If you're on about different lighting, I don't know what the camera can see. I might be able to whiz it round. You might be able to see this one slightly on the thing, which is my work. Oh, there you go. Hold on, Steve's got a better one. Hold on, I'll bring it around. Steve's got a mirror image of mine, which these are ones I sort of recommend. That's it, perfect. Steve's got the same as me. Is yours a twin or a triple, Steve?
Well,
yeah, I've got the twin. Some of them have 2 strips in there. Steve's got the 3, and they have daylight bulbs in there.
Yeah.
And they're great because it's got 3 bulbs. You don't get the shadow.
Is that hot?
It's hot, yeah.
Those ones there, you can pick them up. I don't know, how much you pay for yours, Steve?
About 60, 70 quid.
Yeah, I was going to say, I paid about 50 quid, but I've had mine now, best part of 10 years, which is, and for its genuine, it's on the original bulbs, which amazes me. No problem with it at all. I have my other studio light things, which were those big tent type things with those massive great bulbs we discussed last week's show. I showed you the bulbs for it. They're great, but they get very hot, and also they take up a hell of a lot of room. But they're great at giving those shadows. The ones we've got in now are these very thin. They're, you know, well, they're only about that sort of thick LED ones, and they got barn doors on the front for doing things, but that's a bit different because we're trying to have a sort of studio effect here and everything else. But they are nice, but extremely expensive. They do a cheaper version. It's got, I think it's 600 LEDs. It's half the size of these, and they're around about 350 quid for a pair. But as I said, they don't use much power, but they've got like a dimmer switches and brightness switches and everything else on the back as well for the temperature of the bulb and whatnot.
Lovely. Post 52 from Dave. Does anybody car share? That's going to Telford from Yorkshire.
Pass. Your best bet for that, we had this last year, didn't it, about the car share thing, is to stick it up in the forum. We've got a Telford thread running now, so if you post that up, you can actually see that.
Okie dokie. Toby, post 53. By the way, while watching tonight, I am moving on with the vampire build. There's a picture.
Oh, looking very nice. Yeah.
Very shiny.
Very shiny. Very nice.
Shiny, shiny.
Shiny, shiny. Yes.
Well done. Neil, post 54. Airfix did dinosaurs too. I remember doing a Dimetron Dom. I'm assuming that's the name of a dinosaur, as I couldn't afford a T-Rex. And again, he's actually put up some pictures of the kits.
Oh yeah, look, the original kits. Yeah, mine could have been an Airfix one. It might not have been the Tamiya one, I must admit.
Post 55 is from Eric. Evening, Phil and Sid. Good idea to use solder to join the photo etch. I use soldering for it for some years now. Recently, I bought low fuse solder from Japan with the right type of flux. Here's an example of what I'm doing now. It's the 43rd scale Porsche 804, and I completely build the frame, the rear frame from scratch. I used glass rod and solder.
Very nice. Let me just see if I can grab that for the.
You're going to do your technical.
What page you on?
We are on page 4, and it is.
Sorry, I got you. Okay, stand by. This is where we lose Steve.
Dun, 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 dun. Don't worry, we will bring him back.
We will bring him back. So yes, there we go. Very nice. That's very nice soldering work all around there.
That's at least nice and tidy.
Very nice.
Bang tidy.
Bang tidy.
Have a great show. Ian Smith, post 56. Hi again, guys. Do you ever fly your aircraft helicopter kits around your modelling desk these days, like we all used to?
Oh yeah, kids? Absolutely. Damn straight. Yeah. Yeah. Hind was a little bit big, if I'm honest. But Airwolf, God, that was yeah. From the desk. Yeah. Actually, somebody said to me about we don't see Airwolf. It was finished.
I can see it.
It's here, and it has always been here.
As he bangs in the cupboard and drops everything else.
Yeah, goes another pizza tube. Right.
Oh dear.
So yeah, dusty bin. But Airwolf is here, still on his stand. Look, we have pride of place. But Airwolf did survive and did carry on. I know the video things didn't. I'm standing up a bit more. That's it. But yes. But yeah, Airwolf did fly around quite a lot with me. Still do it now if I get him off.
Taking off from the desk, going to the spray booth. Just shame you can't.
That was one of the best sound effects, wasn't it? Ever. It was. The guy who did the Airwolf howl. That was like just absolutely brilliant.
Post 57, Adrian. Good evening to the 3 Musker Hounds.
That's it, Steve. You've been upgraded. You're a dog.
Only been a member of a couple of weeks. Oh, yeah, post 3. So, welcome, Adrian. But learned so much thanks to your great videos. So much I put my hand in my pocket to buy the Tamiya Mustang that you built in the videos. Love the live feeds. Keep up the great work.
Thank you very much. That's a cracking kit. It is really, really nice kit. It's one of those kits where there's not, to be honest, I get a little bit burnt out when I build a kit, but it's one of those I will do again because it was very, very nice.
Post 58. Hi, lads. I'm an hour late due to being a loving husband by dropping the missus into Dublin City. Did I miss Phil spilling paint everywhere?
No, not this week. I've been very good. I haven't had any catastrophes at all like that. I've been all right this week.
Toby's put buffing done to the level I'm after.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. No, it looks really nice.
Nice close-up.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I might be able to show the viewers at home. So you must be just down here now.
He is indeed.
Oh, there we go. Look, hold on. See, look, we're getting far too technical now. We're going to astound people with our brilliance.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, no, very nice job on that one. And it's a lovely little kit as well.
Post 60. Hi guys, Tav here again. Does Tamiya's Black X1 function as a primer paint? Alclad aluminium and steel paint. What kind of experience do you have?
Yes, I've used it. I don't know if Steve has, but I've used Tamiya X1 as a base for it, and it worked fine. The thing is, you know, everyone says about black base for using for Alclads and microfillers and that. If you're doing a normal type of aluminium finish, if it's a non-polished one, you don't need to have this beautiful black gloss finish for it. You can get away with just using normal primer and go over it. It's only when you're doing high gloss, i.e. a polished aluminium or chrome or something else like that, you really need that deep gloss black background to it. I don't know. Steve, you used Alclad much?
Yeah, I just use a flat black Tamiya XF1 and just go down and just give it a quick wipe over with a polishing stick. and that's all I tend to do.
Yeah, that's it. I must admit, that's what I tend to do. I tend to use one of our polishers and just whip over it, and then I'll go around with a little bit of airbrush cleaner on a cloth just to get off the sandy stuff, and away you go. To be done. I'm going to do a little bit of heat work. It won't be for a couple of weeks because you're playing catch up at the moment, but I might drop it into a news show of how I do the heat effects on the reverse buckets on the Tornado. Give it that type of look.
Post 61 on page 5 is from T Price, who must be reasonably new. He's only got 13 posts, and all we got is oops. So I don't know what that's regards to, but we got oops. Bob Bailey, hi Bob.
Bob.
Hi lads, tuned in for about 20 minutes and wondered if Steve's going to take the plunge and buy the Rebel HE111 to join in with our buddy build. Would be great to have him along for the ride again.
No. I would, Bob, but I've got a lot and I need to clear all my benches for January because I'm starting a big ship in January and I'll need as much space as I can.
Has Stefan trained you well to do that, has he?
No, he's not trained me yet, but that's the plan for January, and I'll need to probably use a whole bench. I've got 2 benches and one of them will be taken by the ship, so it's just a matter of tying up all my builds that have got on the go at the moment between now and December, and then on with the ship.
Very nice.
T Price, post 63. Hi Phil, Sid and Steve, loving the shows. I have recently bought some Winsor and Newton Indian ink, and I'm trying to find out how much I should thin it. Any suggestions on the ratio and which thinner to use? Thanks. Terry from Halifax. Up the road from Steve.
See, Halifax lot. Yeah, when you're doing inks, the thing you have to remember is when you first thin it, what you see when it's wet is not what it'll look like when it's dry. For instance, mine, when you see me put it on, looks very, very dark. And to be honest, even to me, I'm like, oh, it dries back extremely light. Okay, so sometimes you go over it with another coat to bring it on. You know, obviously it's very difficult knowing what thinner you're using and obviously exactly what type of ink it is with it, you know, being various different shades of, it might be different. Your best bet, to be honest, is the way I do it. I've just got my little separate containers like this. I'll come along, trust me, just start with more of your thinner, whatever you're using as your thinner, before you put your ink in, because otherwise you end up trying to thin it. So put a load in there, just go drop by drop by drop and get it up to the level where you're happy. Because in my thin one, I've got one called the light ink wash. It must be 99% water and retarder and stuff like that. Sorry, airbrush cleaner, I'm using that one. And as I say, it's amazing. One drop, that's it. Because otherwise it's too strong. Because if you don't thin it enough, it will turn everything black. That is the thing with Indian ink. It's extremely strong stuff. That's why they use it for tattooists, apparently.
Post 64, Ian Manners. Hi guys, great show as ever. I just picked up a Eddard's Striking Eagles 48th limited edition for half price, £35 bargain.
Bargain.
Woohoo. It has some resin parts, which is a first for me. Any info appreciated for using resin? Question for Steve, any particular manufacturers for metal tracks?
Metal tracks, best ones probably Fruel if they do them. I forget, Spade Ace, I believe they're called, also do a range of metal tracks. So it's looking to see what manufacturer sells a set of tracks for the tank that you're building. So that's what I reckon.
Yeah, true. I suppose it's finding the ones that for that particular one to go through it. As for resin, just treat it like a very detailed bit of plastic, if I'm honest. Obviously, you're going to cut your block off, your resin block, get rid of that to start with. Just be a bit more gentle with it, because you crack the resin or cut it in the wrong place, it can be a problem. Health and safety, resin is toxic. Well, it's not toxic, but the fibers get in your lungs. It is not nice at all. So make sure you do it outside in well ventilated or with a respirator on, something else like that. Get rid of the dust with the damp cloth after you've finished. And then say treat it as you would anything else. You get people and they talk about washing the resin beforehand and all the rest of it. If it looks oily, then yes, you might have to do that, but just be careful because you knock bits off doing it. But generally, if you prime it with like just a normal acrylic like Tamiya, just spray it neat Tamiya onto it, high air pressure, and then you can paint it and detail it as you would anything else. It's just that it tends to be all together for you, which is, you know, nice, and it's a lot more detailed. But apart from that, your dry brushing, your washes and everything else, just do it as you normally would on your plastic and you'll be absolutely fine with it. But as I said, just test fit it for when you're putting it all in. Just take your time. If it doesn't go, gentle sanding. Don't start attacking it with blades and knives, otherwise you're going to end up going too far and cracking it and splitting it and everything else.
And like you take your fingers off.
Yeah, yeah. Or I did a good one once where I actually cut clean through. I was taking the block off the bottom and went through like this, and I took it away and I took the floor. I cut it too high, so I took the floor out as well. So then I had to cut it again and then stick it onto the bottom. But and that is on one of the videos. I can't remember what it is. It's got to be one of the jet ones. So it's going to be. I don't know if it, actually. I think it's the F16. I actually cut the floor clean off, but then the seat's there, so it doesn't really matter. But
Post 65 is from Clint. I have used Vallejo primer mixed with 50/50 Future. It does make it fully sandable in about 30 minutes. Because Vallejo primer has two separate drying times. One to hold in about 15 minutes and the second to sand, which was about 24 hours. Adding the Future makes it sandable and much faster.
I will give it a whirl. I will do a thing on it when I get 10 minutes today or tomorrow even. I'll give it a whirl. I'll bung some in and we'll see if it's sandable. Because so Vallejo primer, a day, I'd say it's probably what 3 days before you can sand it. Certainly when we did the demo here, we demoed it live on one of the early news shows, and I think it was our week one.
I think it was.
I actually did it live, wasn't it? So now to go.
Post 66, hi. Please tell me some sites from internet where I can compare different kind of labels of paints about equivalence of each other. Tab from Finland.
Steve, you've got the app as well, haven't you?
Yeah, it's iModel kit.
That's it. Hold on, I think I've got it on my phone as well. Yeah, there we go.
iModel kit.
Yeah, I've got it. So what it is, you have, it's this guy here, the camera locks in. And literally, I've got a picture of the app here somewhere. You pop in.
It looks like it's on spurs.
Yeah, it's on the screw one there above my finger. You literally just go on there and then you can do everything. So you got your federal standard codes, but also you can take photos of things and it'll tell you what it is and the closeness and all the rest of it. It's free. You get adverts. You can pay for it to have an advert-free one. But you've got on there all the different colors, all the different manufacturers, Life Color, Rebel, obviously all the Vallejo different formulas, Model Masters, everybody's you can imagine, Tamiya, MIG.
And it is very good.
And it is very good. And it's a freebie. It's a bargain, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, so yeah, that's definitely the way to do it.
Hans has put up a link saying paintformodels.com. Obviously have a like a paint code on there as well.
Yeah.
So hello Hans.
Hi Hans, are you on next week? You have to get time off work because don't forget he's at work, isn't he? So yeah, next week's guest. Hey, we could name and shame them.
We could, couldn't we?
So they'll have to be on here because basically that's what we did to Steve.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I just said Steve's on next week's show, and that was it. He had to then.
Johnny, which is post 68. Phil, how much do you dilute Vallejo matte varnish?
If it depends on how matte you want it to be. If I'm honest, if you're using the resin one, which is this one that actually says acrylic resin on the top, if I'm spraying it for a dead flat finish, I'll spray it neat. If I'm going for a more flat satin, you know, something else like that, then I probably thin it around about 25%. I'll put 25% thinners in, 75% of this. Because obviously if you over thin it, i.e. you start going 50% and more, you're going to end up with a more satin and gloss effect and everything else. Remember, with all of these things, we spoke about it, I've done various shows on it now in the tip section, massive amount of air pressure. If you're going for a flat coat, you know, it's all about the air. So you want loads of air coming out, hardly any. So if you've got a dual action airbrush, just a little bit of actually your flat coat coming out. So it's all air. So literally, I've got paint in here still. I have actually. I haven't cleaned out my airbrush today. But you're pulling it down, and then you just ease back a little bit on the trigger to get a tiny little bit of coming through. So what it's doing, it's drying before it hits the model, so it gives you a very nice dead flat finish to your paintwork. And obviously, if you're doing gloss, you do exactly the reverse.
Okay. Neil's, which is post 69, he's commented on where Sam asked about the work lamps. He's put, I bought one of these, they're fantastic lights, and he's put up a link for it.
Yeah, as I say, one of the guys posted up on the forum, it was a couple of years ago now, but somewhere really cheap for them. Where I think they're abroad, but they took a while to get here, but they were a lot cheaper.
cpc.farml.
Oh, right, yeah.
So yeah.
I think that's where mine came from, actually.
And it's called Task Lamp Tree Tube.
Yeah, Tri-Tube, yeah. Creative Models do them as well. But I think you pay a little bit more for those. And they only do the dual, I think.
Post 70, which is David. Evening, gents and Sid. Don't know if you will get this far. I did post earlier, but it seems to have disappeared. I'm enjoying the show. It's great. I think 2 a week would be good.
Oh. That's it. We're just every night we'll be here.
I'm sure my partner would love that.
Yeah, that's it.
Wayne, which is post 71. Hi guys, me again. Just a quick one. I am in the HE triple build buddy build with Bob. Apart from the spurs not being coded, is there any other problems you have come across yet to keep a lookout for?
Well, it's covered in sink marks. But to be honest, that is the thing with with all the Revell kits. Yes, it's cheap. It does come at a thing. It's just the level of quality, but it's got lots of sink marks all over it, which I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to tackle them yet. I might just start hitting it with the filler. The main fuselage is okay, but most of the smaller parts have got sink marks in them, which is a bit of a pain. But generally, I must admit, apart from the cockpit being so vague of how it goes together, because instructions are pretty awful on them, but it does tend to be pretty standard Revell instructions, you see. So it tends to be a little bit overload down in here. So you sort of all cram it in as much as you can in once. The camera's a bit blinding them out. But certainly when you're putting the cockpit together, you do wonder how it all goes together at some points. So definitely dry fit. As in, don't just go straight in with the glue. Test fit it first, see how it goes in.
Okay, I believe we're up to date with all the comments.
So we're up to date, so that's it. Well, there we go. We've only gone over by 40 minutes, which is amazing for us.
So
there we go. Oh, somebody's scraped in.
Yeah, they have. Good evening, Phil, Sid, and Steve. This is from Mark. Would you mind giving me some of the methods of getting paint off models that doesn't melt the plastic? Cheers, great show as always.
I've done a new show on it. I've done various things on it. My way of doing it is IPA, which is isopropanol alcohol, isn't it? Oh, someone else? Yeah.
Drink it.
Propyl.
Hey?
Isopropyl alcohol.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, the 99% stuff is the best.
Yeah, available from the local pub. Yeah, it's good stuff. As I say, you can buy it really relatively cheap. To be honest, I've had this one. You can see it there, the camera, which is we're halfway through it now. Great. No. I think 2nd of October 2008. It's got a date on it. I bought this on eBay for around about £8. I don't know what it is now, because obviously that was 2008. So, but yeah, if you do this, the trick that I found with it is, in all honesty, take your model, get one of those, a big polythene bag, tip it in with it, cover it completely, and then, either tape up the end so it can't vent too well, and leave it for a couple of hours to sort of soak. This stuff won't eat your clear parts, it won't affect your clear parts, it won't affect your fillers or your glues or anything else like that. That's the nice thing about it. And then what you do is bung it under the hot tap and rinse it all off.
Right, okay.
And Buster had that trick. He's probably due for another one. He's got that sort of 4 inches thick on him now.
Will be for November.
Yeah, that's it. So that's what obviously I've used in the past, and I've demoed it. I've shown it on a video. I think if you go on the search on the site and put in paint stripper or refurbishing models or something, I did a bit of a special. It was when Buster was going to be rebuilt. Obviously, there's no way that's going to happen. But that's my way of doing it. The other way, obviously, a lot of people speak about is Fairy Power Spray, I think it is. Most of your oven cleaners, you can spray them on. That'll do the same type of trick to your model to clean them off and start again. But IPA is so dirt cheap when you buy it in bulk. 5 litres off of eBay, I think, is quite cheap.
Okay. And Clint's just put a quick comment in saying that you will need help from Sid when you start the Airfix Typhoon kit. Basically, he will be needed just to clear up the parts.
Well, clean up the parts. Yeah, I suppose we were discussing earlier, that seems to be the thing with it. The parts are a little bit of a mess. But to be honest, that's what I'm getting here with the, this one. There's a lot of part cleanup needed with it as well. It's quite softly moulded. So, although with my new scraping tool that no one can buy because you can't find one on the planet, which is the usual thing, I've been using it today over everything. I've gone around everything with it. Yeah, well, it's a treat.
Lovely.
Little things like I was getting all the flash off around like the seats because it's got little bars and everything. And you just literally whip around with it and it goes right in the corners and everything, which I never thought it would. Which normally I do it with the sanding stick, but it's a lot quicker. But I went around all the handles and all the bits and pieces on this one with it and zipped around it all. And
so now you're just getting everybody frustrated now because they can't get hold of one.
I did speak to John from Models Are Go about it, and he has assured me they are on order and due in between the next 4 to 6 weeks. That's what he's been told. But he has ordered all the shapes in all the different sizes. So as soon as they arrive, he will let me know, and I'll let you all know. Yeah, I'll let you all know quietly, so you're always in first. I think that's the way to do it.
And Robert's put at the bottom, just as a final one part, is Fairy Power Spray is great for stripping all paints.
Yeah, there you go. Fairy Power Spray. I knew it was something like that. Same thing again. Just spray it on. Don't breathe it in, and you'll be good to go. But I did it with. I like to use IPA because it's very soft and gentle, and it doesn't stink the house out and all the rest of it. Use it like that. So there we go. Brilliant stuff. I'd like to thank our special guest tonight, which isn't you, but that's our Steve, for joining us. Hopefully he'll do it again.
Yeah, once a year.
Once a year. Yeah. So, yeah, that's it. If we pay him enough, he'll be back. If not, he gets stuffed.
And he will be at Telford to sign autographs.
Yes, that's it as well. Steve will be there for autographs and signing chests and anything else you want to do.
Quite. Like.
Yeah, signed photos and everything else. So but that's about it. But you know, I think that's everything for tonight. We're all good.
Yeah.
Another great show. Don't forget, it's no new show this week because this place is being pulled apart, literally. So the next time we see you will be for the new show.
Will we? Yes.
Will be. So we'll be here next Tuesday and
With
everything else.
lights.
With the new, well, they're here. They'll just be up out of the way. So, and some more of them. So we'll have lighting outwards and just illuminate the place. Although it looks quite good on camera.
It's not bad, actually.
Yeah, there you are. You're glowing a little bit.
I'm glowing nicely.
Yeah, you have a tan by the time apart from that, you'll be all right. But everything else. But thank you for everyone for joining us. As ever, thank you for all your questions and everything else. And again, special thanks to Steve for joining us again.
Indeed.
Hopefully he'll be back really soon to answer all your questions.
But we haven't made him too late for his bedtime.
Yeah, sorry for keeping you up past your bedtime, Steve.
I know, it's okay. I'll let you off this once.
Oh, that's all right. Thanks, mate. Right, till next week, everybody. Take care and happy modelling.
Cheerio.